everybody. Welcome to Thursday Night Live with Bill Tucci.
Behold his mighty hand.
Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang.
Just want to manage expectations.
Weird.
This is the worst.
Good evening, everyone. Teen sensation Billy Tucci here with my dear friend, editor, writer, creator, president of Gemstone Publications, Mr. J.C. Vaughn. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Hello, Old Bean.
Old Bean. How are you? Happy Robert Burns Day. I'm having a little scotch here in celebration of Scotland's favorite son.
Is that what we're calling it today?
Yes, that's what we're calling it. But we've got a great show tonight, guys. Thank you for joining us. It's a very thought-provoking show, something that a lot of people have been speaking about. And our guest wrote a really terrific, I don't want to say terrific, maybe, I guess, poignant opinion piece.
It could be terrific.
It could be terrific. Well, when he reads it out loud, what we're going to make him do is read his entire opus. But no, he strikes a chord with it. It's something that struck me. And I'm like, wow, we got to talk about this. But first of all, I want to say hello to people out there in the chat. Say hello if you're in the chat. We got a bunch of people watching, but hello. How do I say that? Maldecido 1904. Mass Draman. Good to see you. Randy Howell, of course. Fritzy Schnitzel, Neon Knight Rider. Dearman's YouTube channel. Good to see you, buddy. J.C. Vaughn is here. But without further ado, I'm going to do a little introduction to our host because tonight's guest, Old Bean, is someone who broke into the comics industry as a copy editor for Tokyopop. He eventually moved on to write their English adaptations of their manga titles, such as Devil May Cry, Hyper Police, the critically acclaimed Dragon Head, as well as a story family values for Blizzard Entertainment's Warcraft Legend. In 2009, he became the lead editor on Disney Pixar Muppet titles. Muppets are awesome, by the way. Developing their all-ages line and masterminding the triumphant return, and I'm sure you're familiar with this character, Disney's Darkwing Duck. With James Silvani.
Very popular character.
He also worked on comics books with DreamWorks Animation and Sesame Workshop, and is currently developing his first creator-owned comic book with artist Renzo Rodriguez titled Kneel Before Doomface. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I hope he puts it out crowdfunding-wise. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the one, the only, Dr. Aaron Sparrow.
Wow. I don't think I've ever had a better intro.
Thank you. You know, it's what I do. You know, we get a little wild here in Long Island, NY. So,
Well, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. And yes, Kneel Before Doomface will be crowdfunded this year.
Excellent. How are you? Happy New Year. Happy Robert Burns Day, as I said. The man, you guys would know him for penning Auld Lang Syne, which Jeff is going to sing for us tonight to close.
Oh, very nice.
But
you know, Billy, I'm paid not to sing.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got another guest joining us here. A man that needs no introduction, but let's just call him by name, Chris the Killer Brawley. What's up, Chris?
Gentlemen, I am
going?
so pleased to be here with such an esteemed group of men of wisdom and flavor and humor.
And
great hair.
Yeah, apparently four of us had a Groupon for the same haircut.
All right, well, hang on a second. Hang on. I was going to save this.
I thought it was a BOGO.
I was going to save this for the Kings or the Bros, but I guess I got to break it out.
Uh-oh.
What is it?
I better put my
The way you shook it, I got really concerned. But
It's a ball.
here, let's do the. Wait, we're gonna do the big reveal. Here we go. We'll let him do it.
Very good.
And
Nice.
then we'll do the big reveal. So, how you guys feeling?
Feeling good. Feeling good.
Are we on YouTube already?
We are.
You are. You
Hello,
are on
audience.
YouTube.
Okay, I'll keep that to myself. Never
Hello, world. Sorry, I'm late. I was just wrapping up a stream, but it looks like everyone's from that stream starting to head over here.
Excellent. Very glad to hear that.
All right.
And answer your question.
All right. Oh, perfect. Wow.
There we go.
There we go.
If you'll just smear a little Vaseline on that camera, you'll just it'll look perfect. Yeah.
You need to get like a goatee though.
Oh, that's great.
Well, you know what? It's funny you said that. You said that. Because,
You know, when I shaved my head, I thought I got a Marvel book. I just was wrong.
Well, you got better looking when you shaved your head.
I did.
I think
There's
you
no
did
question.
too, Nile. I didn't know that you
Thank
other
you.
chats before, but hang on. Hang on here.
Oh god, this is great. I love this.
Unscripted. Hang on. Let me
Unscripted.
use my painter's tape here.
Now, well, if this is unscripted, we should still fire the writer.
Yeah, thank you.
It looks like you're wearing a flesh tone do-rag.
I know. I look like
Not. Hey, Nile.
Yeah.
Hit TJ's comment.
And Billy, you've got great hair. You should don't
Oh,
shave your
good
head.
Lord,
I
what
did
have I
not
come
have
into?
great hair.
Hang on.
Uh-oh. TJ.
TJ's got a full head of hair. So don't hate on
He's
us.
got a
TJ.
mop. TJ has a mop.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I like it. Commissioner Gordon.
Hang on. I'm almost there.
mustache.
Hang on.
You kind of look like Einstein shaved his head.
It really does. Disturbingly so.
Oh my God. Aaron's like, what the hell?
Someone's
did I
getting
do?
some
Oh, no,
PT
I
tonight.
know.
Is this Aaron's first time being on this show?
Is that two mustaches on your face?
It's an eyebrow. Now I
Love it.
I can make an eyebrow.
A unibrow? Now he's
Thanks
pondering.
Thanks to the chat for letting me know that my my mic isn't on. I don't know what's going on. I can't respond to the chat. Like it wants me to join, then it wants me to sign in, and I don't want to do it because I don't want to mess anything
Is
up. So
Lopez in the house?
Oh, you should be able
Yeah.
to just you can respond to the chat in StreamYard.
yeah, I'll just shout him out here.
I'm auditioning for Graybeard Studio.
Nice.
One more. Hang on. Almost there.
Remember when you said you wanted the show to go an hour, Billy?
I know.
Oh, you can't go by that. You know that, JC. He's like,
I do.
he's always like, we do our show like an hour.
No, this is
Oh my gosh.
He looks like one of Sonic the Hedgehog's main villains.
That's exactly
Dr.
what it
Wily.
looks
Yeah,
like.
no, it's great. I think your Dr. Wily cosplay is coming together nicely.
Go big on me, Nile.
Going big on you.
Go big
and,
on it. Yeah.
and hence.
Oh, that's perfect.
There you go. Look at
I
that.
say.
I say, Aldine.
Wait. The coup de grace.
It's
I
really
didn't
great.
look. Oh,
Nice.
I lost my. Oh no, I didn't.
No, you got it all.
That's enough
All right.
of that. You see tomfoolery, ballyhoo. Come on.
Yes, well, for a second I was like, oh, it was clearly Professor Plum in the conservatory with the wrench.
All right. So, Chris, thank you for joining us. The reason why for tonight's subject matter is that Aaron wrote a really terrific article. Again, can I?
Oh
say
my gosh, it was awesome.
a poignant opinion piece about and let's let me see if I could share that. What is that? An ad? Hang on. Look at that chap. Who is that guy? Good Lord. Who is
I don't know,
that
but he looks
guy?
like he should be
What
on
is that guy?
stream. He's got the haircut for it.
Yeah, he should be on
It's an ad.
stream.
Okay, here we go. So Aaron and Aaron's going to read this to us, outline the entire 700-word article. No,
I hope you guys are ready.
but Aaron, again, you wrote, it's something that a lot of us have been saying. A lot of us talk about it on stream. We certainly talk about it at conventions, at get-togethers, at lunches, and all. And really on Clownfish TV, a very poignant article that says, comics journalism isn't dying; it's changing, and that has some people scared.
Mm-hmm.
So, sir, what was the catalyst for you to that moved you to like, I got to share my opinion on this with everybody?
Normally, I'm content to just share my opinion on Twitter and to make fun of things, on Twitter. I don't have a lot of time. I've been asked by several different websites if I want to write regular columns and things like that. And in general, I just don't have time.
Yeah.
But over the course of like several weeks and even several months, as I've watched, all of us coming out and saying like, hey, there's problems in the comic book industry. When we started doing this years ago, and how comics book journalists like Rich Johnston, like Heidi McDonald, and I say journalists in quotes, they have just gone full bore in gaslighting not only the fans, the retailers, and professionals, about no, the industry's fine, the industry's healthier than ever. And I absolutely, it's been bothering me, and it's been building and building and building. And having watched a comic book store go out of business, and then Heidi McDonald show up on the day that they're packing up their stuff and taking it out of there to shove a microphone in their face and be like, well, it's not woke comics. It's not woke that killed comics, right? That's not why your shop's dying, right? Right. And basically like holding them hostage, not helping them pack up, not doing anything like that.
These poor guys, like on the worst day of their lives, they got into comics because none of us aside from Nile got into comics for the money.
Yeah, exactly.
How's that working out now?
Nile has literally made hundreds of dollars in comics.
Yeah. That's right. Now, all you have to do is start out with thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the storage unit I'm
hundreds.
living in. It's $30 a month, and it's freaking free electricity. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, so I'd been seeing that go on, and then the Comics Beat had put out an article that was called "Comics Isn't Dying, It's Changing," and that has some people scared, and that pissed me off to no end. And so I was just kind of like sitting with that. And on the day that two shops were putting out that they were in trouble, one was having one in LA having a signing with a bunch of comic book writers and artists, and then I guess Patton Oswalt is going out there because he wrote a comic that nobody's paying attention to. He's going to be out there for the signing. So that shop just begging, please help us kick the can down the road a month or two. Sure. And then another shop putting up a GoFundMe because they're, behind. They can't even get books in anymore. They owe money to, what they called predatory distributors. Not sure what that's about, but they're in financial trouble. On the day that two more shops come out, we get an article from Heidi McDonald lamenting the fact that the journalism category of the Eisner Awards has been taken away, as if that's the most important thing going on in comics right now. And that was like finally the thing that I was like, I sat down and I just started writing, just like mostly just to kind of like get my get the feelings out onto a page. And then as I was going through it, I was like, well, since I took the time to do this, I might as well have it published somewhere. And so I reached out to Neon at Clownfish, who has been a friend of mine for years and years. We both worked on Disney comics, never together, but we both had that kind of like that pedigree. And so I reached out and I asked him if he'd want to run it, and he was like, "Sure, let me take a look at it." So I sent it over to him, and he put it up. And I understand from various people that it's ruffled a few feathers.
Oh sure. I can only imagine. And from what I've read, it's true. I mean, I've had conversations with a lot of, say on the Kings or the Bros, but even conversations with some other creators, right? Some of them that well, I don't want to make names, but these are people that have made millions crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Right. Millions. Campaigns are doing $500,000 a pop.
Yeah. Always
six figures or high 5-figure campaigns.
Really?
Consistently. Yeah.
Billy, it's not me, is it?
Yeah.
No, you and I have never had this conversation. But and not a lick of coverage though for them. Not a lick. And these are people even on Kickstarter too, because maybe they don't fit like you were talking about. And if you want,
which means it's intentional. I mean, that's the thing that you're saying right there, Billy, is it's an intentional ghosting of those campaigns. And Aaron, I got to just say, this was a brilliant article. I enjoyed it. I read it twice. I really love it. I'm glad Neon put this up.
Yeah.
It's
you, Neon. Salute.
It was, yeah. Hey, thank you. Yeah, it was what we needed to read at the time, because I thought, okay, what happened that week was the Eisners opened up for entries, for submissions. right?
Mhm.
So rather than doing an article about, hey, I want to talk about the categories they have and who I would nominate, which books, creators, etc., would I nominate for this year's Eisner categories, and then maybe
as comic book journalists.
yeah, well, and as a journalist, and maybe casually add at the end, as a footnote, by the way, they're not doing the comics journalist category this year. Ha, I can't wear my dress, but I'll definitely be there supporting the comics industry of some sort. She made it all about herself. It's insane.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, part of the reason that this category is gone, I don't expect the Eisners to be based in any by any stretch of the imagination. I worked for the San Diego Comic-Con long enough, and did the Russ Manning Awards, and was involved with just seeing knowing people who were part of the Eisners and knowing the instructions they get. I know that the Eisners are just as corrupt as comic book journalism. They have been for years. So I don't expect that they eliminated the category because they realized that there's no such thing as comic book journalism really right now. Most of the sites that you would normally see getting those awards haven't been journalists in a long time. They're propagandists, and they're pushing an agenda. And if they don't,
or it's artificial intelligence writing the articles.
Yes, and if they don't like you, if they don't like you for some reason, either you're not politically aligned with them, or you don't go to the right parties, or you're not part of that little insular clique. And we'll get into the insular cliques.
Yes.
But if you're not part of that, they will either kill you with death by hyperlink, where they'll find some imagined transgression, and then they'll write articles about you, and they'll find oh, you're putting out a new comic, cool, we'll report on it, but here's all the sins that you have committed according to us.
That's Uncle Richie's. That's his approach. Uncle Richie.
Rich Johnson. He did it to Dynamite. He did it to Dynamite Comics
Poor
because
Nick
they dared to
Cecil.
almost they almost did a cover program with Cecil.
Aaron, real quick, what is the hyperlink for those out there that may not be aware of what that is?
Okay, so when you go into a story,
hyperlinking.
when you go into a story, like if you're looking on the screen right now, you'll see that there's a blue line there with an underline. So basically, you click on that, and that's a link, and that'll take you to another story that's connected.
Yeah,
so
for the boomers out there, that's a hyperlink.
Yeah. So what they will do is, Rich Johnson will, he'll run an article on Dynamite's new press release, but at the time, he would make sure to right away in the article say Dynamite Comics, who courted controversy this year by working with Comicsgate, and have a link there to the article condemning Dynamite for daring to try to make some money in this industry, and he would he did that for well over a year. Heidi, on the other hand, that's his MO. Heidi, on the other hand, completely ignored Dynamite after that for I think well over a year.
She ignores all Indiegogo stuff.
Yeah, and but they had to be punished because they dared step out of line, and I do not hold to that. I do not hold to that mentality. I think that everybody who wants to publish in this industry should have the opportunity to do so. And I'm tired of these little cliques. I'm tired of these little high school lunchroom backstabbing sessions. True story, a friend of mine started a YouTube channel covering comics. And they invited him, it's like, hey, you got a channel covering comics, why don't you come into this group, with other people that are talking about comics. And he went into that group, and it was all comics book journalists. And he quickly realized that was how they get you on board. They get you on board, and they try to control your thinking. Oh, you've got a channel? Sure would be a shame if something happened to it. Let's get you in here with the right people so we can control the narrative.
Yeah.
And so once again, like we're seeing in the mainstream journalism, they are not reporting on things. They are not being truthful. They are not, as they say, speaking truth to power. They are covering up truth to protect the powerful. And in the comic book industry, that's particularly pathetic because it's so small, and it's getting smaller every day. But just to try, it's all about power, and it's all about controlling something. And pop culture is downstream, of course, from culture itself. So they have to control it in order to have the ability to craft the narrative, to control the way that you think, to point you in the right direction. And I will always push back on that, whether it's a hardcore right-wing agenda or a hardcore left-wing agenda. I want truth out there. I want powerful people investigated. I want people held to account. And I think that's better for everybody. I don't have any interest in protecting people who would do, the industry harm or who would do the country harm. These are all this is all connected, even though comics is, a much smaller microcosm of this problem.
Yeah. Well, I
think that sorry, go ahead now.
I was going to say, not too long ago on our Steven Semino Says Boom show that we do on Tuesdays, we had one of the senior writers for CBR on. And he mainly writes a lot of history stuff because that's really what that show is about. It's a lot of Silver Age, Bronze Age stuff, kind of our history show. But we were talking about it, and I brought it up. I said to him, I said, I want to get your opinion. I want to get an answer on this. And kind of what Billy was saying, you've got, the mainstream's doing their thing, but I'm like, you've got so many creators, and you can't deny, even from the mainstream, moving off onto their own, self-publishing, big names, groups. DC's last bit of talent is now Ghost Machine. They're out there. Ghost Machine's getting some recognition. But I was like, how come guys like Brian Polito, who does like $4 million a year in crowdfunding, isn't getting any recognition from all this? And he says he laughs. He bursts out laughing and goes, we can't even write about 90% of the stuff we want to write about. And it kind of slipped in there of, well, we kind of have to write what we're told to write.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole thing, isn't it? I think that what we're seeing very clearly is a reflection that somebody said that we're a microcosm, and that's exactly right. It's not that this is any different than mainstream journalism. What we've had over a period, I don't want to say how long because that would tell you when I was a journalism major. But what we've had over a period of decades is this sliding together of opinion and news. Mm-hmm. It used to be clearly delineated. Now, this did not mean there was not a forum for advocacy or for outrage or anything else like that. It meant that there were standards for being a news article and a news organization. Now, rather than give in to despair, which is the easy thing here, or anger, I started looking for some solutions. And in the mainstream, the best I've found so far, and maybe somebody else has got another one, and I'm glad to hear about it, 1440.com. 1440, I have my suspicions about where some of their principles lean. Okay? But you know what? It's just suspicions. Mm-hmm. It's not obvious. This is traditional journalism. They don't report things like they don't have clickbait headlines.
Right.
It's a news digest. It comes, I think every day, but Sunday. I don't know. And some of it's just links out to other articles, but their reporting is very even-handed. And it reminds me that it's still possible. And it reminds me, in my day, it reminds me of the stuff that I was taught. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I have nothing against advocacy, and I don't care what you're advocating. If you can do it eloquently and civilly, more power to you. Mm-hmm. But where we are in comics is every bit as corrupt as in mainstream journalism, and it's not corrupt like they're taking payola. It's not corrupt like it's not corrupt like it's a criminal enterprise.
It's almost like it's personal.
No, yeah. Listen, there is that manifestation to it. But what I mean is where we are, one, looking for uniformity of thought, which is just objectionable on the surface of it, and two, where we no longer recognize conflict of interest. The examples I always use, like on 60 Minutes, one of the premier investigative journalism shows in America, and how often are they interviewing somebody about their new book published by Simon & Schuster, a division of, before they sold it, a division of CBS. Mm-hmm. It literally they've slid to the point of the morning shows, which are the worst kind of infotainment. Back in the day, Johnny Carson would have somebody on and say, this show appears on another network. He wouldn't even say the initials. Mm-hmm. Okay. But that wasn't journalism. But if we look at it now, that is the standard of journalism.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's and I'm I'm Gen X, so I grew up with the, don't trust anybody kind of mentality. And I grew up on George Carlin, who,
Well, no. You did not grow up in the don't trust any. You grew up in the trust but verify.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that is absolutely fair. Yeah, trust but verify. So you would believe the best, but you would investigate it. You didn't take anything at face value. And one of my people are always like, "Oh, what's your political party? What's your political affiliation?" I always tell people that I'm a Carlinist, in that I grew up on George Carlin, who brilliant comedian, but also a brilliant culture commentator. And you can look at the things that are happening now. Go back and watch interviews with him and things that he called out, and you can see how that's playing out today. There's one where he's sitting there and they're saying like, "Oh, I just don't believe it. There's this grand conspiracy where everybody gets together." And he said, "You don't have to have conspiracy where interests align. These politicians, they go to the same schools, they go to the same country clubs, they're all part of the same groups, they don't have to get together and have a meeting and say, we're all going to do this. They know what's good for them. And it's not what's good for you."
Aaron, I mean, seriously, if we want to engage this back into the culture as a whole, there's a reason that the Bernie Sanders revolution and the Trump revolution happen at the same time. And while I suspect one is more of an insider than the others, the people who supported Bernie were not insiders. They have more in common with the distrust of big government. And it's not even the distrust of government, it's the distrust of an establishment class. That's the thing. It's not this raging anti-government stuff that people want to make it out to be on either of their side. It is literally a distrust of people, like you said, going to the same parties.
Let's bring it back to comic books. The question you got to ask yourself is, was Loki right? Were you made to be ruled? And I was not made to be ruled. Okay. I've always been a rebel. I've always, looked at power structures and been suspicious of them. And I always question everything. And I think we need to get back to that. But there are too many people that want to be ruled. They want a nanny state. They want to, and this is the kind of the mentality.
They crave
it. What's the meme? Govern me harder, daddy.
I do want to throw something out there. I don't know if Billy's viewers know this, but Aaron is editor, writer of comics, Darkwing Duck, Boom Studios.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's not just some guy on Twitter that's constantly making excellent points that I have to retweet. Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Aaron, I think, appears weekly with Wes Doherty over on Thinking Critical, and they talk about the state of comic books. They talk about good stuff, bad stuff. One thing that I would like to add, and this just sort of from my own perspective at Bleeding Fool, the whole reason Bleeding Fool exists is because of the bias and controlled narrative at Bleeding Cool. I was in the comment section. They were talking about they were talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, representation, all that. And I just quipped in the comment section. This was 6-7 years ago was, and said, isn't it fascinating how X-Men 94 didn't have to be promoted by saying that it had representation and had all these, this diversity in it. And it was actually a very mild comment. And the comment eventually, long story short, I was shadow banned for making that comment. And I said, you know what? It's very easy to go and register a domain, and I'm going to put my thumb right in your eye, and I'm going to call you guys out as the fools that you are, and became the court jester that made Bleeding Fool. Now, something that you said earlier, Aaron, and actually, Jeffrey, you said it about 1440. If you want to find 1440, I think you have to go to join1440.com. It's not.
You're right. You're right. You do.
A very unbiased news source. I would agree with you. And there are a few out there, but I decided to push back on sort of the progressive clique of Bleeding Cool with sort of the Breitbart of comics and entertainment and do Bleeding Fool. So I did get kind of caught in that talking friendly about my friends. One example, a good friend of mine, Mike Barron. Mike Barron has not been mentioned on Bleeding Cool in I don't know how long. Maybe he got casually mentioned for some Nexus thing he did. But Rich Johnston, Mike Barron can do 6 figures on a crowdfund. Nobody will talk to him. Mike actually showed me an email from Heidi McDonald where she said, Mike, I can't do any articles on you, right? She said that in the email. Now, because Mike is right wing, right? Because Mike aligns with, he likes Trump. I mean, let's just call it what it is. He's a Trump voter.
Right.
And
so why can't Heidi do an article on him? Is it because of her personal beliefs, or is it because she is also scared of her audience?
I think what you said, what you said, they don't want to talk. Why has Ethan Van Sciver never been mentioned in Comics Beat? Are you kidding me?
Right.
$1 million crowdfund, $2 million in crowdfunding, and that's not news.
The millions that he's made in the past 4 or 5 years alone.
My God, or Eric July for that matter. It's like what it is they cannot mention. It's almost like Voldemort or whatever, right? I saw a tweet the other day from Discussing Film. It's really Disgusting Film. The tweet was something along the lines of known transphobe J.K. Rowling is now reported to be an executive producer.
Yes, I saw that of her own property
of what she created. She's going to be the executive, right?
She licensed them.
Known transphobe. It's exactly what you said, Aaron, about what Uncle Richie does, and I refer to him as Uncle Richie because he's sort of the inspiration for Bleeding Fool. But it's sort of that backhanded compliment, backstab type thing where we'll talk about it because it's newsworthy. But by the way, they're also a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, transphobe, whatever.
We're gonna try to damage you, under the guise of promoting you.
Either that, or it's like we know our readers already hate you, so we might as well have an insulting comment about it. We're forced to report on this known transphobe. It's sickening, but I have fallen into that same sort of pattern that you mentioned, Aaron, where I've kind of leaned right bias. And I'll want to talk about guys like Billy Tucci or Ethan Van Sciver or Mike Barron or John Malin or the people that are not getting any attention, who are out there having this Indiegogo success, who have had careers, but they just don't get picked up because Marvel can't afford them or Marvel doesn't want them or they don't align with their values. I don't know what Tom Brevoort's
or the blue-haired assistant, the blue-haired assistant editor who got hired right out of college and has never read a comic book in their life, doesn't know who they are, and B, wouldn't hire them because they're not one of their.
Well, they would be triggered.
Lunchroom clique.
They would be
absolutely triggered.
Who has a very, very powerful influence on the direction of that particular title she's an assistant editor on.
Yeah.
It's so like with me. You covered a bunch of stuff, Chris, right off the bat. But like with me, and I guess I could say I'm very fortunate because I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been friends with everyone. You really can't find me saying a bad thing about anyone in comics. Because if I've had problems with people, I call them up. And we settle it like that.
Yep.
The thing what they do with us, and it kind of breaks my wife's heart because she's friends with these people, is that they'll never say a bad thing about us, but they will ignore us.
Yeah.
We are persona non grata. They will not cover anything. And I have they're on our, and I send out a press release at least once a week, sometimes, at least twice a week. I'll send press releases out. Nothing.
Yeah.
Not a darn thing. 30th anniversary of an independent comic book that we've sold 3, and Jeff and Nile have been to my place. They've seen our setup. It's basically my wife and I and some of our friends.
Well, you got a new office doing all this stuff now.
Oh yeah, we have a dedicated.
Yeah, I saw the pics of that. It looks great.
Yeah, it's my wife's gonna get her house back now. But I was hoping Shelley Lepresti doesn't see
really,
that.
You sort of just touched on it in a nutshell, and that's this: the 30th anniversary of a creator-owned indie character. Okay, let's take it away from you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Brian Pulido.
Right.
I don't think I've ever heard Brian say something political.
No. I have no idea what Brian Pulido's political
and God bless him.
And I don't care.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't care.
And my approach is this. Like, seriously, go back to Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide number 48. Got Howard Chaykin doing a cover. I've got Ethan Van Sciver doing a cover, and God bless Ryan Sook. I don't know his politics. I had Ryan doing a cover. What do I care about? What's a good cover?
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
I
The
realize
readers didn't care.
These
The readers don't
days,
care.
this sounds incredibly naive these days, but the truth is, I don't care.
Yeah. That's the right attitude though, Jeff, but think about it. Mark Waid has been so political, so public about his opinions about shit but he gets good coverage at Bleeding Cool, the Comics Beat, CBR, and on and on and on. But you've got guys like Wes, Aaron's co-host, who says, I'll never buy another Mark Waid comic again because he's been an insufferable asshole. So why can Mark Waid be an insufferable a-hole with his opinions, but Ethan Van Sciver can't be and still get decent coverage?
Because they agree with Mark's opinions.
Right.
That's exactly right. That's the bias.
Well,
So if CBR is okay with Mark Waid, then then Bleeding Fool's going to be okay with Ethan Van Sciver. That, to me, that's sort of the hole that we kind of filled from our end, because I mean, honestly, I'm libertarian myself, but I'm conservative at heart and I'm right wing. So that's kind of where we come from.
Here's a crazy thing, though, Chris. We were like moderates like 10 years ago.
Agreed.
We were like here.
I'm a George Carlin fan. Don't get me wrong. Listen,
No,
I voted for Ron Paul. I wrote him in 2012. Listen, I'm on that side, but it's just this Overton window keeps shifting.
Yeah, but Chris, you had mentioned earlier, and Aaron, I'll get back to you. I'm sorry to but I want to interject this to try to keep with the tone of it. Is that you mentioned that he's a Trump voter? He's a Trump voter. That's why Mike Barron is not getting coverage. I went through a thing after being nominated, after delivering the biggest selling war book since the 70s, right? War, series of war comics, doing covers, get nominated for an Eisner for a Batman story. And then something big comes up at one of the big two, and the writer suggests me to draw it. I wasn't writing it. And they said to this writer, who's a very famous writer, well-known writer, he said, I'm not going to fucking hire Billy for this. He's like, why? He's like, Billy's a really nice guy, but the guy's a Republican. This was 2012. This is way before Trump. This is because I said I'm voting for Romney. That was it. And that was it for me. I was out.
Oh, no, you're a Romney voter. I'm out. Wait a second. I'm just
well, this 2012.
No,
so,
I know.
Who knew the serpent?
When I was an editor at Boom, we were having a conversation in the editorial pool about different writers, and who's really good that like we could probably get to like pitch a title or something here. And one of the names that I didn't even suggest it, although he's definitely someone that I think is great. But someone suggested Chuck Dixon. And one of the other editors said, I don't think we should work with Chuck Dixon. And someone said, why? And they said, because he wrote that story where Stephanie Brown was pregnant and she decided not to have an abortion. That was the reason to disavow Chuck.
Yeah.
And it was like, so I'm sorry, what? She made the decision to like put her baby up for adoption, and that is enough of a reason, because he made that story choice. That's enough of a reason for you never to want to work with him. That's ghoulish.
Yeah.
It's an agenda. It's not entertain people. Yeah. It's an agenda. That's what it's
but then they're also interpreting it the way they want.
Sure.
Like how did that not fall into the story arc? Maybe the baby had to go up for adoption. They're making their own.
Well, it did, because she wasn't ready to. She wasn't.
Feelings. He might not have been like, oh, I'm anti-abortion, I'm not going to do it. He's just like, I'm going to put the kid up for adoption. Like, I mean.
What if Talia in the DC universe had decided to have an abortion instead of Damien being born? I mean, to me, it's just, what's the story? I don't need politics involved. Politics has really, I think Jeff said it earlier, it's really gotten into every part of our culture now.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
I think one of the examples that I always use, but even though I use it a lot, I still really believe it, is that if you were to go back to the EC comics of the 1950s and the war books, which were largely under the purview of Harvey Kurtzman, okay, they are very clearly anti-war books. They are all about the human cost of war.
Right.
Okay. But Harvey Kurtzman, unlike the lightweights today, and this is the difference. My friend Don McGregor will take up for some of these guys today, and he's wrong about this. When Don wrote political stuff, he never forgot that there had to be a story. When I want a sermon, I go to church.
Or you go to a political rally.
This is the thing. But if you look at Kurtzman, I come from a military family. Okay. I'm very pro-military. Those are my favorite war books. I mean, I love Joe Kubert and Robert Kanigher and all this.
But every Bob Kanigher book was an anti-war book. Even his Blitzkrieg books about the 5 issues about the German.
You look at, and of course you could take George Pratt's excellent Enemy Ace War Idol.
Oh God,
is probably the finest. Probably my favorite graphic novel.
That's up there for me too.
These are the things that these guys never forget. There's a story. I think I pretty well know where they stand politically, at least on those issues, right? I don't think it's hidden, but they never forgot. And Don McGregor, in either whether in Saber or in Black Panther, never forgot to give us a story. And
I remember reading Captain America.
Yeah.
And Mark Grunwald was writing it. And, it's like I knew very little about him. But he wrote a story where Viper and the Serpent Society poisoned the water, and it was turning people in DC into snakes, or into snake people.
Yeah.
And President Reagan was one of the people that got turned into a snake. And I remember the cover said Captain America versus the greatest snake of all. And even as a kid, I was like, I don't think Mark Grunwald likes Ronald Reagan. I think that this is a commentary, but the story, it didn't play heavily into the story. And a couple of issues later, I don't know if he got talked to or anything, but he kind of backtracked, a couple of things, it being Reagan who fired Cap. And, so in your head, you were like, okay, well, maybe he's referring to that, the fact that, the president fired Cap, so he's a snake, but they had a little shine on his tooth at the end when he was giving the speech, and I was like, oh, okay, I kind of know what the writer's political leaning here is. But it didn't destroy the story. The story was still very, just a very straightforward kind of adventure. And there were little subtlety, and that's the difference. There were subtleties, and that you could pick out and go, okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good storytelling right there.
Isn't the other thing here, listen, I'm an independent creator, but I've written material, a lot of licensed material that other people own. You can't come in. And you have to expect your editors and the consumer product line managers to be good stewards of their properties.
Yeah.
And so I think that if I want to do something political and really want to do it, I'll make my own character.
Yeah.
And do it. And see, this is the thing. I'm real open to people telling me stories with viewpoints that I didn't disagree with. Quite honestly, the worst you can do is bore me.
Yeah.
That's way more offensive than supposedly offending me. That's just horrible.
Larry Hama is somebody whose politics I don't necessarily agree with, but you talk about military comics. I do a bi-monthly or bi-weekly book club with John Mayo and some of the guys over at the Comic Book Page podcast, which has been 15 years at least. John has been talking about comics. And we did the Nom. We did the first 12 issues of the Nom, edited by Larry Hama. You knew where he was coming from, but it was beautiful Michael Golden artwork. And the story was just so brilliantly told.
Honestly, that was a great book till they brought in the Punisher.
Absolutely. It's Marvel's shame. And to Marvel's shame, they don't have it the whole 80 something issues digital. They have like the first 20, then it skips to the the Punisher stuff. And that's it. And it's also a shame on DC's end that they don't have GI Combat and Omnibus. I mean, the stories were not pro-war, but I feel like what's happened is the publishers themselves, there's a cancer has set in to the staff over there, and they're just like, oh, we're not going to do any war books, or we got to kill off the Punisher, or whatever the thought process is that's going on.
Chris, they did that to me. So when I was doing the Lost Battalion, let's say that, and we were doing this, and to Dan's credit, Dan wanted this to be like a documentary, because the veterans of the last surviving veterans of this battle, and there still were quite a few of them in 2008 when we started, were still around, and they wanted this story to be told. And I recall, so they were saying that things like they wanted to reach out to NPR, and MSNBC to cover this, right? I'm like, well, heck yeah, but you know what? Go for Fox News and Rush Limbaugh as well.
Yes.
Why not? Like, get O'Reilly on this. You have these veterans are so engaged in this story.
Yeah.
And they're like, Billy, I know what you're saying, but you know what? Guys like Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh, they'll just use the veterans to get their political points across. That was the mentality. This is 2008.
That is the mentality. I got to mention, and I mentioned him earlier, Mike Barron did a comic called Thin Blue Line, right?
Yeah.
And it was not a police recruitment pamphlet in any way. As a matter of fact, I think Jeffrey may have said something about it, that it was very even-handed, the story was, right? But
I thought that book played out in ways that really surprised me. I think where you're reading it, who you are when you're reading it is where you come down on the story. But I thought it was a really nice surprise.
Well, for the record, just a quick plug: Antarctic Press is putting it out in March as a one-shot comic. Right, finally, 2 years later. But we tried to pitch that to I don't know how many publishers, and we got some of the worst. Most people ignore this. Worst vitriol ever, and the only news outlet that gave us any coverage was Fox. And the reason Fox gave us some coverage because it was National Police Week, and they were just short a story. Hey, here's a comic book covering a police story, and it was that Fox News thing that made that crowdfund explode, right? Yeah. So I think honestly, there are some stories that it doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left; it's an entertaining story.
Well, did you see there was an article that came out? I can't remember who published it, but it was basically an opinion piece on Spider-Man 2, the video game from Insomniac. And it said that because Peter in the first game, there's a whole thing where he's calling himself Spider Cop because he's helping the police, bring down these criminals. And they were like, Spider Cop is why, we need to replace Peter Parker with Miles Morales.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
wow,
are you out of your mind? Like, look, I've encountered my fair share of a-hole police, guys that peaked in high school and are just, they have an attitude problem. But I've also met a bunch of guys, that I have some friends that are, retired police, that are really great guys and that really, were conscientious in their job duties. And, it's like anything else, it's a mixed bag. Yes. But the idea that because Peter, a superhero, helps maintain law and order, and in doing so works with the police, and therefore is unworthy of the title Spider-Man. So we need to give it to this.
He's a bastard. Wow. I mean, one word description of superheroes for me: crime fighter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey, Aaron, bringing it back that now Chris has brought up a few great points. Not a few. Chris and JC have brought up a lot of great points. It's something you had mentioned earlier on about cliques.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you say they were cliques, and there are things that they have these conversations. Can you expound upon that? Of what are you thinking of? Like, who are these? Like in the article itself, and there's a link to the article. But you mentioned the whisper networks, cliques, things like that. Can you go into a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So for the longest time, I've known long before these stories ever broke, long before Penny Parker, dropped all that information on the Whisper Network and the, screenshots of things that were said in there.
And here's for Penny Parker.
Yeah, and just that people would come in and be like excitedly like, so who we canceling today? People who are so empty inside and their lives are so devoid of meaning that they wake up and they're excited at the prospect of destroying somebody else.
So this is something that has been rumored because we haven't. Hey, honey, say hello, honey.
Hello.
So Jeff and Chris and Nile and Aaron, our friend from San Diego.
So Obama.
Where?
Who's that?
Chris. No, Chris is a very handsome man. So
Deb, I have to tell you, the first time the graphic came up, I thought the exact same thing.
Okay, as long as I'm not.
Hey,
Hi,
TJ, what's up, buddy? So,
well, Chris, you're very handsome.
yeah. So, and he
Who's
is
Chris?
Chris Brawley, King Kong Brawley, we call him.
Interesting.
He's
There
going to
he
make
is.
it out to San Diego and hang out with us too. Well,
Aaron,
Hope so.
hello, How are
Hey,
you?
how are you? Doing well. How are you doing?
Aaron is coming to the Saturday night men's night next year
I'm
in San
sorry.
Diego. Oh, no.
I'm looking forward to the cigar.
I won't be there.
Well, the cigar.
Oh, there's more than one. Oh, nice.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Okay, so I'm interested in what
Just
cigars
one-
you
like one
recommend.
cigar
Paul
shared by
Jenkins,
everybody.
what's up, brother? Hey, Paul.
When are you doing your war comic together? And he says, "Hi, Deb."
Oh my God!
Paul,
what a
I want to
story.
say hi to you, not only from me, but from Jesse Blaze Snyder. We often talk about what a great guy you are.
Oh, I love Jesse
one of the
Blaze
best.
Snyder. I raced Jesse Blaze Snyder's dad on Deer Park Avenue, and he blew me away in his Mustang compared to my piece. and I pulled up to the light, and he's like this. Yeah. Great guy. Anywho,
Apparently, somebody by the name of Old Dirty Fatty is
Hey,
upset.
what's
I
up, Old
didn't
Dirty
say
Fatty?
Hello to him. So hi. And hello, Marcus. Hello, Paul. Hello, hello, JC.
hello, JC. But anyway, so get back into it, Captain Aaron, about the whisper networks. Like you said, that these people were in groups that it's rumored, allegedly, let's do that, right? How's that? That they were like who we're canceling today.
Mm-hmm. And it's everybody that you would expect it to be. Comics journalists, comics editors who are always out there causing trouble, who've been fired and gone to multiple companies and just absolutely ruined every place that they've been at. It's just a clique. And this happened years ago when I got fired from Boom. I really saw like what was happening. Now I'd been inside at Boom for about a year, and I'd kind of watched the tactics. I'd watched how, you'd have a managing editor who would smile to people's faces, and then as soon as they leave would start tearing them apart. Just talking mad trash about them. The managing editor, the marketing guy, this was like their MO. So when I got fired, I had no illusions that I wasn't going to get talked about. But the savagery with which they spread rumors and lies about me was unbelievable. And at one point I sent them a message and I said, you're telling people that I'm all these anonymous accounts, in these forums that are talking about Boom, that are talking about this, that are talking about that, talking about the Disney license. I said, if you go back and you look at those accounts, they started way before I was like not with the company. They were while I was working there and trying to do these Disney books. So yeah, I'm not going out and denigrating the Disney books. I'm not these anonymous accounts. And by the way, I never signed an NDA. So if you don't stop saying that I'm these anonymous accounts, saying these things that I didn't, I'll go out and I'll talk about what I do know, and then I'll sign my name to the bottom of it. So there's no question as to who it's coming from.
God damn.
And they kept pushing. They kept pushing. They actually called Ape Entertainment, which was my next job in comics, and tried to get me fired from Ape because they just did not want me in the comic book industry anymore. And so I did. I published. I went on Cartoon Brew and I wrote a really long post about pretty much everything I saw there. And I'll still talk about it to this day because I never signed an NDA. So suck it. They tried to get me to sign it on the way out. It was great. Oh, Billy, you'd love this. So as they're firing me, they're telling me how they want to take care of me. So they've got the severance package.
Like take care of you? Oh.
Yeah. And so they slide this check across the table that's attached to the NDA that I have to sign to get the check. And I look at the check and it's $800.
Oh my God.
And I just smiled and I just turned it around and I slid it back across the table and I said, clearly you guys need this money more than I do. And
How
that
much
was
is your career worth?
yeah, exactly. And when I told my guy at Disney, who was my liaison with publishing, when I told him that, he started laughing and he goes, I mean, Disney does that, but it's like, here's $50,000.
Yeah. Right.
Well, Disney has money and Boom doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, honey, Deborah, honey, I didn't mean to. Yeah.
You
Anyway.
can call me honey.
Oh,
I
thank
like
you,
when
honey.
call me
Oh, honey. Anyway, so we were talking. Aaron was bringing up a thing. He wrote a brilliant opinion piece. I'd love for you to read it about things like the comic book journalism, and they're scared because the Eisners just dropped one of their award categories which was to award best best comics journalism, whatever. There was some sort of whatever it's called.
Best comics journalism.
Yeah,
which would be like by default.
And a couple of journalists are lamenting. They're very angry. All this stuff. But how do you feel about us that we've been doing this for so long? We've been friends with these are our friends. A lot of the people that are journalists, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to mention names. And how
we're not going to mention names. JC gone.
Yeah, JC's awesome. This is awesome. No. But how does it make you feel that with the success that we've had, say like Brian's had and Fran, right? Ethan's had, and they literally ignore us, and we send them press releases every week. Oh
my God, I can't believe you're bringing this up again.
Oh, you know what? Well, this is what the subject matter is.
So I'm going to tell you what I think. I think you and Brian and Ethan, the more that they shut you down, the better you all do. So I think they should keep it up.
So you're saying that they don't matter?
It doesn't matter. We've already we've proven, Ethan's proven, Brian's proven, it doesn't matter. Brian could care less. Brian tells you to stop talking about it.
I know. I when I talk to Brian, I bitch about it to Fran.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So you talking about it is not going to change it. We have a few outlets that Matthew, stop flexing behind your product.
Because I'm just flexing, Chris. Oh, look at Brawley. Look at him, man.
I don't know.
You got a wrestling champ there, man. Let him flex, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever knew this, but Bounce Off in the chat, which is Scott and Georgia Ball, who worked for me at Boom and just worked for me at Ape and just really, really great creators in their own right.
What's up, Bounce Off?
Definitely give them a follow. They said that the marketing guy, Chip, who's now in charge of distillery, by the way. I'm sorry, distillery.
Distillery, yeah.
Dysentery. He told everybody that he could match my IP address to the Boom forums for the Anon Twitter accounts that were talking about Boom. He said was telling people he could match the IP address, even though that's not possible. And they weren't smart enough to know it. So that was like part of the campaign that was being waged against me.
You know what's sad about that is how petty that is. I mean, honestly, who gives a beep, right? At the end of the day, go make some good comics. Go show me some sales figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not for anything. None of us are in this business for the recognition.
Yeah.
None of us. If the recognition happens, hey, that's
whatever.
So
well, that's what the journalists were saying, Deb.
We're in here
That's
this,
right, the journalists,
whatever it is, for good entertainment and to share what Billy can create and what I can help put into creation with people who want to purchase it and enjoy it. That's really what this is all about. And we, by the grace of God, have enough people that are willing to do that and keep a roof over our head and food in our mouths, and that's what matters. Whether or not
and send our kids at Penn State University, it's going to cost us $240,000.
Well,
it's a business.
We have
it's
to
a
do
business.
A lot more. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter whether or not the journalists cover us. It matters whether or not these people come back for more.
Right.
And the beautiful thing is, they've shrunk their audience to the point that even if Billy did send a press release out to the Beat or Bleeding Cool and they ran it, it wouldn't really result. Like, it's not helpful to you because no one reads. No one reads those sites.
No,
yeah, they've shrunk the industry down to nothing.
It's sort of cannibalized itself. It's like, well, every time they ignore deep real stories worth covering, it's like they diminish their own reach.
Yeah.
Because people tap out.
Yeah.
People say, well, if you're not going to talk about what I want you to talk about, screw it. I'll go somewhere else.
And
you don't get those people back.
And there are enough backers and followers that are there in spite of them too. That are like, well, you're not covering what I want, so I'm going to double down. And thank God for them.
Yeah. And they're terrified, as Aaron had mentioned, of now that we have a platform to talk. We have the internet. We have YouTube to use it for a positive.
They have something that they can't shut down.
Right. They can't shut us down. Right, Aaron? Exactly. That was what they were lamenting about, because they seem to be corporate shills. They're not covering books that people want to read. And they do have a political bent. A majority of them do. But now they're in a panic mode. Yeah. They're terrified because they're realizing that their reviews, their coverage really doesn't matter in the success, especially
Which means you
for
should let it go. Just let it
Well,
go.
Well,
I would
it's but
say
see, here's the
this.
thing, Deb. Here's the reason. Here's the reason I think why I can't let it go. Why Billy can't let it go.
Thank you, Aaron.
Is because and tell me if I'm wrong, Billy. But I don't want to speak for you. But this is kind of my feeling. Is that for all of the people like me who, I'm small. I've never really been a big name in the comic book industry, but I've never been willing to sell out my integrity to get there. And for a guy like Billy, who's going to go his own way, but who has had a tremendous success in the business, I think what we're still thinking about is the fact that they still have a certain amount of power to crush small guys. And that's who we need to look out for. Is we need to look out for the small guys, and that's why we need to push back on them. That's why when they lie, we need to call it out. That's why when they attack somebody, we need to defend them. It's why why we can't ultimately let it go and just ignore them. And they deserve. You're absolutely right, Deb. They deserve to be ignored because they contribute nothing to the conversation and they're ultimately meaningless.
That's a totally different point than I was covering, and I 100% agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about how Billy just keeps lamenting and wondering
What bothers
why.
you? Well, they are.
Dear, why they're not covering me?
Well,
Who gives a shit?
Well, the Great Bounce Off said they cover their friends, right? And these people are our friends. How many dinners have we bought for them?
Okay.
For any other reason, just because
Are they?
we're having
Are they
a
your
good
friends
show,
though?
or we're success.
Maybe they're just looking for a dinner.
Let me ask you a question
Yeah.
about that.
If
Billy.
they won't stand for you when you're being attacked, they're not your friends.
They're not your friends.
Yeah.
They're remora. They're basically just they're
I get where
Even
Billy's
just-
coming from, because I feel like Billy he's got a grievance. The grievance is, this is unfair and this is bullshit. What you're doing is bullshit, and I think you should call out bullshit. I think it's always a good idea to call out bad behavior. The problem is that the people that care about Billy, I don't care about the opinions of people who don't like me. I don't give a damn about those opinions.
Amen.
But if you're doing something wrong, I want to point it out, because it's not to make me feel better. It's because I want everybody that I know to know you're doing the wrong thing. And so Billy, he's an artist. Billy's an artist, so he has an ego. Artists have egos. Artists' egos get hurt, right? Egos get hurt. So it's the thing that's sort of a thorn in his side. So he has to keep mentioning it. And of course, Deborah and his wife and his friends are like, oh, Billy, please don't mention this anymore, because we agree with you. We don't like to think about this negative shit happening to you. Why do you keep talking about it? Because it just brings the mood down. We want to celebrate your creativeness. We want to celebrate what you've done. We want to celebrate the success. Look at these thousands of people that are buying these hardcover omnibus, me being one of them. Why don't we talk about these let's celebrate these things, right? Let's not talk about this negative. But the negative has to be pointed out, because you got to shine a light on this blackness so that they will be shamed enough to stop. Now, they'll never stop completely. They will never stop trying to be negative, because that's who they are. They're ghouls, right? But you can at least shame these ghouls into going back under the rock and disappearing for a while, and giving a little bit of a reprieve for the people who need some attention. So I get the point of calling it out, but I also get Deborah's feeling of, I really wish Billy wouldn't talk about this anymore, because she loves Billy and she just wants to talk about Billy being celebrated, because that's what he deserves. He should be celebrated. He's got this IP that should have already been a movie by now, or a TV series or a cartoon or whatever, but he's not getting that because of these shitheads like Rich and Heidi and you name it, CBR.
But we've also turned a lot down.
Well, okay, of course you have.
Action figure. You've got an action figure of she coming out that I am psyched for.
New action
Yeah, I cannot wait.
I'm just saying generally. I'm just speaking in generality.
No, but you're 100% right, because I do get, she's the. Am I the right brain and you're the left brain? Right?
I don't know.
I'm the right brain.
Together we make it work. How's that?
I'm the left. I'm left-handed. She's right-handed, and that's why we've been like this since 1989. 87. Oh, geez. But it does. I do have that thing that, I get frustrated for my friends as well, because you look at Jeff, or like Lady Death and she are gracing the covers of the Overstreet Price Guide this year, right?
That's huge.
How many independent self-published books that you could probably name on your hand, on one hand, have had that honor and that I don't say notoriety, or just
it's notoriety.
Yeah, or even that recognition, let's say that. You have a lot of great independent publishers, a lot of great independent characters, right? But a lot of them were also published by bigger corporations. They may be creator-owned.
Look at that.
Oh, Nile. Thank you, Nile.
Nile.
But we have, it just kind of bothers me that here we are, that we've worked so hard.
Yes.
And it's, and we love the Politos, who are amongst our best friends. Jimmy, Amanda, Jeff Smith, Vijaya, Terry Moore, his wife Robin.
So here's something I want to propose to you.
Okay.
Here we are, sliding under the radar, doing what we want to do, having a great time.
We are having a good time. That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Making people happy, or trying to, at the very least. I have a few people that aren't so happy with me right now.
Oh, what?
But I'm doing my best. What happens if you get your wish and all of a sudden everybody covers you, and now you have to do what makes them happy to keep the coverage? Has that thought ever occurred to you?
Oh my God,
That's
it's
a
not.
great question.
Wow, that's a great question.
Exactly.
You mean
Now
write more
you
comics?
have to worry what you have to do to keep that coverage. Oh dear God!
I have to join the ball club.
Thank you, sir. Thank
No,
you.
I
I feel
have
better
to.
already.
The Green Laser said Billy refuses to join the ball club.
Okay, you joined it, and I took it off of you.
No, let me
Make
join.
it
Let me
go
join
away.
it for a
Oh,
minute.
God.
While you
I-
put
I
that
have
on,
a-
let me just read. We got a So Lazy gave us a $20 super chat. Thank you.
Oh,
Hi, Deb. Also great to see Aaron here.
it is
It
great.
is great to see
Oh,
Aaron.
thank
I
you.
love Aaron. Aaron,
Thank you.
you're
Appreciate
one of my favorite follows on Twitter. And that article, listen, anybody can read it in 3 minutes. It's at clownfishtv.com. It's called Comic Book Journalist Writes Eulogy for Comic Book Journalism, talking about Heidi. It's an incredible read. It's evergreen. It should be read forever and on every week at least. But I got to ask something of Jeff. I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Didn't Overstreet used to be in Chattanooga?
Absolutely.
That's what I thought.
When I started freelancing for Bob when I lived in Texas, it was the fact that some of his folks didn't want to make the move to Maryland that created a job for me.
That's awesome. Because I think there used to be an office down on Market Street.
I don't know that, but there, clearly there was a business address.
Overstreet. Yeah, that's right.
Where I used to send my articles.
The price guide of comic books. You should definitely check it out. And of course, Jeff, you do your own comics. I've got your most recent vampire.
Now it's on
Well,
Vampire.
hang on a second, if I may, real quick. We may take a commercial break. Oh,
Oh,
no, I'm still here. Thank goodness. Okay. I hate that when I just click on something because I get excited.
And then what happens?
No
Well, then
comment. Shut up.
he gets the O face. The O face is the next thing.
Oh, Scala.
But
Aaron-
just
Aaron-
going back to that point, Billy, I just want to say, like, if you're taking people to dinner, if you're looking out for people, if you're helping people when they have problems and they're not there for you, they can't run an article for you. They can't, oh no, Billy, it'd be too much. Oh, I'd be canceled. They can't stand up for you. Let me tell you, I've never been like a formal. I'm not a joiner, so I tend to kind of be an independent entity. So it's like I'm not CG, I'm not anti-CG, I'm not this, I'm not that. Like I've just always kind of been like I'll talk to anybody. Because I genuinely enjoy people and I love comics and I want comics to succeed. I had never been like declared Comicsgate, although I'm sure there's plenty of people who have declared me Comicsgate adjacent. So you don't decide to be Comicsgate; they put you there.
That's right.
Yeah.
When Aaron Lopresti wasn't getting any work from DC, and he decided to do Wraith of God, and all of a sudden, Aaron, this guy who has just always been the nicest, most unassuming guy in comics, but he's not getting any work. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to try this independent thing. Ethan's willing to promote me. He's got a huge following. This might be good for me. This might be good for me to branch out and like take more control over my family's financial future. That's all Aaron did.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was viciously attacked.
Yeah.
Shelley was viciously attacked. Their children were viciously attacked by these lunatics.
That's insane.
And you had people who Aaron had worked with calling companies and telling collaborators of his, friends of his, well, it would be a really bad look if you were to continue your friendship with this guy. That happened to him. And I have known Aaron for years. He's like the first professional that I ever became friends with when I was just a fan walking around San Diego. He's great.
He doesn't stop
Love
by
Shelley.
other people's booths at San Diego. We have to go there to kiss the ring of the great.
Listen,
This year,
Aaron he's a nice guy. And that book that you mentioned, Wraith of God, is fantastic.
It's amazing.
But
I was
you
like,
can
I
pick
saw
it
that
up at
happening.
wraithofgodbloodhunters.com. I'm just going to throw that out for Aaron because he's such a sweetheart.
That's right. That's right.
One
Go
of the
check it
mods.
out. He's
Put the
doing
link
the
in the
Kit
chat.
Carter book right now, which is
It's
like a lot of fun.
incredible. Yes.
But
There's so many good creators on that CG team. And I feel like what's happened is just what you're talking about, Aaron. We're not getting coverage anywhere else. Somebody like Ethan has a good platform. Don't get me started on the hate I have for his beef that he has with Eric and all that stuff. I don't care.
That's not what we're here to talk about. Look, it's the same. It's the same thing. It's like
comics.
One of the things that I don't like on any side that is detrimental to creators and their thinking is orthodoxy. And there are certain folks that would describe themselves as Comicsgate people who are absolutely doing the same thing that was done to them or done to the creators like Ethan, that spawned Comicsgate to begin with.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess this is one of the things about like the longer you live, the more you see the patterns repeat. It's meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Right.
You know, the fact that we've gone to role reversal where the left is so pro-establishment and the right is anti-establishment.
I know.
Hey, I'm from the 60s. It's sort of funny.
I know. Whatever
Upside
happens.
down.
Yeah, it's.
The right's been anti-establishment for a while.
One of the
Yeah,
things,
the right is the
All
new punk,
little
but I
pieces
agree.
of things.
Yeah,
One-
I agree.
It
One-
has just come together to be one large movement.
yeah, and one of the things,
Over the years, I don't even want to say anti-establishment, the
Hero.
the people who no longer thought for themselves,
personally,
right? The
Good
people that said, well, we're supposed to do this, so we'll do this.
we call those NPCs now, Deb.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
whatever.
non-player characters.
Right.
It-
They're like, yeah.
There are a lot more people on the right side who were saying, wait a minute, why am I doing this just because I'm supposed to, when it may not be good for my family, when it may not be good for my children, when it may not be good for my health. And unfortunately, it takes a sick kid or cancer or whatever it is for some people to open their eyes. But if you look at the people who are making strides in those movements, they stem from the right and not the left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For now.
For now. Exactly.
Right. And
For now.
it's human nature. You know, it's like you so I talk about this with Jesse quite a bit, is because we talk about your rage against the machines and things like that we're all anti-establishment.
And Jesse's no right-wing guy.
No,
Yeah.
although Jesse is very much a centrist, but
Yeah.
he appears right-wing because it keeps moving.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
standing in the
also
same
husband and
place,
father too.
and
That's-
it keeps
that's the
it
thing.
keeps moving. And well, he's in conflict. He's in conflict.
Right winged a certain time ago, and what is centrist now was a left wing a certain time ago, depending on what topic you're.
Well, John F. Kennedy was more right-wing than Ronald Reagan. For goodness' sake.
okay, that's absurd.
Hey, I'm going to mute you right now, Jeff. Vaughn.
JFK would be, the media would call him a right-wing lunatic now.
For sure.
Barack Obama couldn't get elected today if
That's
he
true.
ran as a Democratic nominee.
Well,
Okay.
you might get Michelle
Right.
Obama running,
Well,
Billy. So
That's what I heard.
Mike,
Billy, you've had too much to drink. You're cut off.
Billy, what are you drinking? I need to know.
I think. Well, no. Look at JFK was anti-communist.
Yes.
I mean, think about JFK was in line completely with Reagan. What would differentiate?
You
JFK?
said he was more right wing than Reagan.
I think he was
It's
in
indefensible.
1960 JFK compared to
Indefensible.
1980
It was
Ronald
close.
Reagan. I'd say so.
Billy, what are you drinking?
I am
Scotch.
drinking Balvenie
Okay.
for
Scotch.
Thursday. My 12-year-old
He's
single
drinking-
malt. This is my go-to single
He's
malt.
drinking Valvoline.
I just finished my Talisker
Oh,
12
Talisker.
year.
I thought you had some ice in that though, there, Chris Bro.
I had some. I don't. I know. I was. It was crutches, little
For shame.
little training wheels. I'm sorry.
For
Shame.
shame.
I like to have something to crunch at the end. I don't know.
I'm with you. I like to have the ice.
Thank
too.
you, Niles.
Yeah, but Nile drinks Polish scotch.
Oh, don't get me started.
I'm still on your side, Niles.
I got it as a gift from a client, and I
Everyone's
drank it.
okay.
I'm like,
They
Billy,
the way
this
they
tastes like
like it.
smoked meat.
Listen,
It
I gotta
tastes
ask
like
this.
a smoked sausage. It was the most. It was.
There's
My
nothing
wife's
wrong with that.
Polish, and she won't even drink Polish vodka.
Wait a minute, Deborah. Come
Yes.
on. Come on. That's not true.
It is
It is
true,
true.
100%.
Oh, that's terrible. I need to know where I can find out more about Aaron, because are you going to keep writing articles
Aaron,
like this,
hey.
or just whenever it suits you, Aaron?
It'll probably
hang on. Here we go.
Mhm.
There we go.
There we
Okay.
go, buddy.
it'll probably be just whenever it suits me. Whenever I get fired up enough, because honestly, I have enough going on right now. I'm editing books for people. I do
So
freelance editing. Yeah, and I do that for indie guys because I've said, like, a lot of the indie books that are coming out, when I've backed them and I've read them, I'm like, oh God, I wish I could have given some notes on this, because I could have helped tighten it up. And there's so many guys coming into the space now. I've been very fortunate to work with some people who are like first time writers, and usually with the first time writer, you're gonna have a lot of things that you can recommend, and you should really structure the story this way, and you don't need this, and kind of emphasize this because this is what's interesting. But what I've found, the last couple of guys that have come to me, they're first time writers, but they've been thinking about the story so long that it's solid. So I'm editing a book for Wes. I'm going to say his last name. Hope I don't butcher it. Azadani. I hope that's right. That is it's set during it's a horror story set during the Crusades. It's like survival horror, but with the backdrop of the Crusades. It's really good. I've been showing off pages of that. It's called Brotherhood of the Wolf, and you can find that on Tales of KHAYR.com. We're promoting that. That's going to be, we're still a little ways off from doing any kind of like crowdfunding for it, but we want to show it off. We want to show off Aurelio's pages. They're beautiful. But that was a really strong story just right out of the gate. I just did one called, I want to say it's All Cowboys Must Die was the title.
Mhm.
That's
And
a great title, bro.
yeah, by Sam Silver. And it's an alternate history kind of story. I don't know how much I can give away, but I think that'll be really good, because that script, when I read it, I was like, I can't believe this is the first script you've ever written, because this is so tight.
That's like you and Steve Perros, old bean.
So
Stoker and Wells, that a great friend of mine, Stephen Perros, he wrote his first graphic novel, which was an adaptation of his film script.
Mhm.
And Jeff took on the Herculean task of being Steve's editor, because he's a screenwriter.
Mhm.
And he had similar
Well,
notion.
you know what? I got to say, one of the greatest transitions I've ever seen was the second half of that book. Steve just totally got the form.
Yeah.
And we've seen that play out in She Return of the Warrior, and the two books that followed. I mean, once he got it, man, the brutal part was his dialogue is so freaking good. It was impossible to cut. I was going through going, this book's going to be 190 pages.
Yeah. Aaron. So, Aaron, when do you think? I know we're spitballing and ballparking, but any idea when do you think your crowdfunding campaign your IP will launch? You got like a window, anything?
yeah, ideally, I'd like to launch in April. I think that's and then because we're planning to do Dallas Fan Expo, so be able to promote it. Would really aiming for that. A lot of it depends on Renzo's schedule. Renzo is a beast, but he overextends himself. He works on too many things. He's always hustling, which I appreciate. So we want to do that. Probably around April. Right now, we've shown off a lot of the character sketches and things like that. If you don't
what's
mind,
the name of this, Aaron? What is the name?
Okay, well, one thing I want to plug real quick, go check out Unholy Nightmare. It's a book I'm editing for
Unholy Nightmare.
Unholy Nightmare. Is that in the, can you put that in the
Yeah, that's in the chat.
Put that in the chat. What's your what are you about to crowdfund, Aaron?
So in April, I'm going to launch my first creator-owned book. It's called Kneel Before Doomface. And
I'm seeing that hashtag on your Twitter at Aaron_Sparrow. Kneel Before Doomface. What is that?
Yeah, so you can sign up for updates at kneelbeforedoomface@gmail.com and get on Doomface's mailing list, and you'll actually get
is this like a knights in shining armor type thing? What is
no,
this?
It's okay. So I grew up with all those great 80s cartoons, with all those great 80s villains, your Skeletors, your Hordaks, your Primevals from the Ghostbusters,
sounds
all
very
those,
toxic. Sounds very toxic to me.
Yes, very one of the things we're going to be doing with this comic is we're going to retoxify some masculinity.
Yes.
So Doomface is a villain from the 80s that was banished to another dimension. And through the through the stupidity of a YouTuber, he actually the totem that holds him back is actually destroyed, and he's released on the world in 2024. But obviously, the world of 2024 is much different than it was in the 1980s. So there's two concurrent stories running. One is Doomface's story, which is him trying to reestablish his place at the top of the supervillain food chain, and he has a TV producer that's his major domo, whose name is Lexi, and she's kind of guiding him through this brave new world. In his absence, he's found that his brother Malignus is now the #1 supervillain, and there's a big sibling rivalry there. So it's really a comedy about him trying to recapture his kingdom. The B story.
Who's your artist?
Artist is Renzo Rodriguez.
Okay, he's good.
And I've got some good covers. I got some good covers coming too. Like I've Lionel Castellani. I've got a cover that I should show off soon, and going to be doing some more stuff with him. And I've got commitments from a couple other people I don't want to talk about yet. But
where are you going to crowdfund? What platform?
I'm kind of like up in the air. Like there's a lot of things that I like about Indiegogo.
Yeah.
But like
you won't
I know
get
a lot of
any
guys who
Comics Beat coverage if you're on Indiegogo. Just so you know.
I won't get any either. Anyway,
okay.
After that article,
have they even covered any Indiegogo campaigns ever?
Oh my
Have they
God.
covered?
because that's the bad platform.
Okay, why are we talking about this?
I'm kidding. Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract.
Deb is going to shoot you with a trank, Billy.
I'm going to mute my microphone real quick.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
Aaron, it's not going to be a trank.
That's why I created Jerry Tucci, so I could be. Why did I create Jerry Tucci?
You
Say all the
didn't.
things that Billy
You
Tucci
didn't
would never
create
say.
Jerry Tucci.
You
That
did not
is
create
Jerry
Jerry
Tucci.
No, that's not what happened, and
What?
you don't want to
Oh,
bring
yeah,
that
yeah.
up right
Okay,
now.
yeah.
Deborah
not
is
like-
the
Debbie
boss.
hates Jerry
The
Tucci.
goat. Yeah, she's the goat.
Jerry is my Mr. Hyde.
Jerry does not exist.
Jerry,
Aaron,
He's
you'll
right
put
inside
a
of
landing
me.
page, a little sign up or whatever when you get this thing going. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I need to set up the actual page so that people can start signing up for updates through there. There's a couple images that I want to get up there before we do that. But like I said, you can sign up at kneelbeforedoomface@gmail.com. And the B story, if you guys like that article that I wrote, you'll probably like the B story of this because the A and B will eventually converge. The B story is about two superheroes, Kid Notorious and his best friend, Iggy the Inflatable Iguana, who is indeed an inflatable iguana. And they've left their small town where they've had a little bit of success being superheroes and are trying to break into the superhero business in the big city. The conceit of that part of the story is, what if breaking into the comic or into the superhero business was the same as trying to break into the comic book industry of the last 10 years? So they encounter all the same sorts of personalities. The first major obstacle they face is not a supervillain, but it's the Super Justice League and their gatekeeping efforts to keep them out. And the Social Justice League is led by the White Knight, and he's going to be there to stand up for everybody who's marginalized, but he will use them as a shield.
I hope there's a John Richson bad guy in this. Yeah.
You know,
I mostly went with archetypes. I didn't go for like any specific
darn.
personalities, but you'll definitely see a lot of you'll definitely see a lot of familiar kind of rhetoric from.
Will we start seeing some preview stuff on social media?
Yeah, on my Twitter and on my Instagram, I've put up a bunch of character sketches and things like that we've done. I keep promoting it. The Doomface. The Doomface design is so good. I sent a bunch of stuff to Tim Lim, and he did the design for me. And Renzo's refined it even more into his style, and it's absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about the characters and all the fun stuff that we're gonna do. We've got a badass super soldier named Colonel Silverstreak, who they freeze and then bring out whenever there's a problem. He's actually Kid Notorious's father, but he's the character that's really like going to be our toxic male character. He's absolutely great, and he has a lot of lines that come directly from my stepdad. So that ought to be fun.
That's cool.
How many pages?
Looking at probably between 48 and 64.
Okay.
Whoa, 64, bro!
Mhm.
Oh my god, that's so. Here's as a cartoonist, as an illustrator, and you'll attest to this. I can get through the first 32 pages real quick.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing 32 pages, you're done with a major comic. Most comics are 22 pages, 24 pages, but you go through the 32 pages, and then you have, oh my god, wait, this is 48 pages, and it takes you just as long to do those remaining pages as it did to take you to do the first 32.
Well, that's Renzo's problem. I'm going to be putting the heels to Renzo to get him to go.
Let me ask you guys this.
It's not always your problem.
No, that is your problem. But
really.
Well, Jeff, though, let me ask you if you can chime in. And for the people out there, how do you feel about books that maybe have lower page counts? So what if we do a 32-page crowdfunding campaign and not a 48-pager, which we've done 64 pages. We've done
less. What's the problem?
And charge less. Do you think the fans might prefer, say, a 32-page single, because we don't call them floppies anymore, a single, right? That's not square bound. It's not super expensive. The price point will be lower, and to do maybe say 3 of those a year as opposed to maybe one 48 to 64 page book,
which ends up being 72 or 80 if you're Billy Tucci.
Right. Well, that's Jeff Vaughn's fault.
No, it's
And
not.
that's
Liar.
That's my
He
right.
knows better than
Not
that.
my fault.
It is.
I was overserved with script pages
Absolutely.
and panels. I was overserved with panels.
Liar, pants on fire.
Jeff Vaughn sent me a script with a 9-panel page.
One of my all-time favorites. One of my all-time favorites.
Autographs, by the way. Autographs.
Thank you, Chris.
That's that Chaikin cover. That's a great cover by Chaikin.
So
It is,
one of my all-time favorite moments in comics. Writing Shiakai was like one of my biggest break in doing comics. Writing about comics, getting the Overstreet gig was bigger, but writing comics, Shiakai was my big break, and it really happened because Billy was running late, and he says, "Oh, I just finished this one miniseries. I got to start Shiakai on Monday." I go, "Well, you didn't send me a script. I wanted to read it." He goes, "Oh, I'm just going to wing it." And I'm like, "Oh, Billy, it sucks when you wing it." He goes, "Oh, I don't have time. Tell me the plot." He tells me the plot. It sounds pretty good. I go, "How about I have you script for 5 pages on Monday morning, and I'll just stay ahead of you the rest of the book." And he's like, "Okay, sure." So that's how I got to write it. Well, get halfway into the book, and I've started them off with a 3-panel page, one of which was black,
Which is wonderful. Wonderful.
a 2-page spread, and then a couple of rather loose pages after that. And then he calls me. He goes, "I don't do 9-panel pages." I go, "You do now."
Yeah.
Like it's my book, not his book, right? And he says, "Why?" And I said, "Because in the day back then it was $2.99." I said, "Because it's $2.99, and you don't want somebody to read this in 10 seconds."
Yeah. Like Image was all the rage, so I did a 9-panel page.
I think the problem with doing the 22 or 32 page books is, and I've done this now 4, 5, 6 times now.
Mm-hmm.
The cost. I mean, at the end of the day, it depends on how many you order, right? So depending on how many books you order, you might spend $5-6. If you get less than 1,000 orders for that book, you're going to spend, I don't know, $5-6 per book.
Yeah. Probably digital too. It's it's digital.
Well, I do the digital. We always do digital, whether John Malin likes it or not. It's the cheapest thing to do, right?
Yeah.
But then you got to ship it out. You got to charge shipping. So, I mean, does anybody really want to pay $10-15 for a book? So I feel like there ought to be, if you are crowdfunding, you should do a 3-act story, whether you can do that in 56 pages, 48 pages, 64 pages, 80 pages, whatever. You shouldn't pad your story out. It should just be a good story. I don't care if the movie was 80 minutes or 120 minutes, as long as I never got bored, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to figure out what's your return on investment. How many pages do I need for this story? Can I keep it tight? Can I keep it entertaining? And can I make money off this? There's no point in doing it if I'm not going to earn some dollars to pay the power bill and put some money in savings or pay for my kids' college.
Right.
Chris, I think that's right. James Sanchez has a thing about what Brian does. He does a 64-page book and then breaks it down to 2 32-pagers for the retail market.
Perfect.
And that's what I just did. Look, like I'm doing something Brian did and I didn't even know it. That I just did with Al Capone.
Yeah.
Al Capone number 3 in the crowdfunding arena was Al Capone number 3 and 4 in the comic shop. I think when somebody's backing me and I'm not selling huge numbers or anything else like that,
Yep.
I think I'm definitely going to stick with the 48 pagers or more if that's what's called for, and go that direction. Meanwhile, find a partner for the comic shops to
right, like Jim Couric over at Mythology. That's what Mike's doing with his Florida Man, Mike Barron. I go back to that. He just did a 68-page, padding it out to 80 with back matter and pinups, Florida Man 2. Well, Jim is going to take that and do 22-page comics, expand that out to 32 with some back matter and pinups, and he's got 3 issues. Like that, sure. Yeah, 3 issues right there. Yeah. To me, I think that's that's an ideal model, because the creator gets to crowdfund and make some money, get paid back, pay their colorist, their letterer, their artist, whatever, or their writer, depending on where they fit in the process. But then, and so they get that out, a nice square bound, a premium version of the book, the story that they wanted to tell. They get that out to the readers that backed it, that believed in it and said, I'm going to pay a premium for this. Right. Well, a year later, it might come out on Antarctic or American Mythology or whomever as a floppy with staples. I call them floppy. I don't care what anybody says. Singles, it's a floppy. Right. I like the floppy because I can fold it in half and stick it in my Levi jeans back pocket. But it's a year later. Now, I disagree with what what's his name did, Sean Gordon Murphy, where he just did the Zorro book, and he's gonna have his Zorro book that he just crowdfunded. It's gonna be in comic shops 2 months before he delivers his hardcover. To me, that's not how you handle your crowdfunds.
No, I agree, Chris. I think that the people that backed you, the people that put their hard-earned money down to help you make it happen, dance with who brought you.
That's your people
VIP. There's people that got you there. You deliver to them first.
You have to. I think one of the greatest things I ever heard from Jimmy Palmiotti was that the minute you push go on your Kickstarter or Indiegogo or whatever, you're not in the creator business. You're in the customer service business.
That's right. Yeah. You want to make them happy. It's okay to go to the comic shop.
Now, that said, I think there are different ways to do this. Whether it is stuff that comes along with the comics that is exclusive and different than just the comic that the comic shop people get, or not. But I think there's a lot of toss up here.
I still think, though, that the story that people bought, whether it's in a hardback or it's got a bunch of back matter or it's an extended edition or whatever, I think that whoever crowdfunded it, those people need to get it first before the comic shops do. And I think that's
Largely
where
agree.
Sean Gordon Murphy messed up. Is I think he's got something coming out to the comic shops. It might be a floppy version of it, and then the hardcovers are going to go out. And I get that what happens. I mean, you're dealing with this all the time, Jeff, and anybody else that's done this, Deborah. You're dealing with a printer, and maybe your hardcover edition is taking a little bit longer than the soft cover edition. I get all that, right? And I get that the comic publisher probably wants to say, hey, we can get ours out a little quicker. Let's do it. But you as the creator have got to say, wait a minute. No, the people that were willing to pay this premium on Kickstarter or Indiegogo or whatever, they need to get their books first.
Yeah.
Really,
My
like-
feeling is
That is the minority. That is
they need to get more as well.
yes.
Absolutely.
It's an experience. I think when you're crowdfunding, when you back a crowdfund, you're not just saying, oh, I want this book for pre-order. You want an experience. You want to open up that Gemini mail or whatever the package comes in and go, oh shit, look at this. It's a sticker. It's a bookmark. It's a poster. It's a pinup. It's a card stock. It's a trading card. It's Billy's autograph. It's a personal message from them. It's something that is special coming to the crowdfund, and let the comic shops have their thing. And I don't want to dismiss the comic shops, because you'd be shocked how many people don't bother to check Indiegogo or Kickstarter for a comic. They just, it doesn't even occur to them. They don't even have a clue. So you need to reach that audience to stay relevant and to make money, right? I mean, that's what we're all doing this so that we make a little money, right? To pay our bills. So I feel like a She omnibus or whatever, that ought to go to the comic shops. That ought to be in Previews World or whatever, but not before those people that backed it on Indiegogo get it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, tell Chris our plan.
Let's hear it, Debbie.
Well, the She.
You talking about the diamond plan?
Yeah. So she is back in comic shops starting in April 20 this year.
Yes. So
Nice.
we're doing things a little different than I thought we were originally going to do. But this 30th anniversary edition that we're campaigning for right now with the Indiegogo in demand that we finished in Kickstarter. Once it goes to all the backers in one version, much as you said, Chris,
Premium edition
there's a premium edition that goes only to backers
at $20 cheaper too.
at a reduced price that will have a dust jacket.
Yeah.
And
that dust jacket is so nice. It's
for
like
the
a
book
nice
and
mat.
the bookmark
And
the sewn in satin
hand.
hand.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Doing that?
they already
Okay.
that stretch goal's already
And
been.
the sewn in satin bookmarker that only goes to our backers. That does not ever go to retail. Anything we have over and above, we may bring with us to conventions, but it doesn't even go on our website.
Yeah.
That's nice. Oh, that is nice.
It only goes to backers or people that basically shake hands with us.
And
Yeah,
they get
come out to the show.
Love it.
And
And
they
the
get it
people
first.
that shake hands with us at the conventions also have to pay more for it than the
What's your
people
next
that-
convention, Billy?
Well, you should get an extra $20 just for
That's
loading those books to a
kind of
con.
That's kind
Yeah,
of
right?
we're toying with two conventions.
Oh, we're gonna be in
for
Orlando.
April.
We're gonna be in Melbourne, Florida
Are
in
we?
April.
We've decided that.
I
Okay.
decided it. I'm the man.
He's
I've
It may
decided
decided.
happen.
that. Oh, are you going by yourself?
No, you're coming with.
Oh,
Okay, then we haven't decided.
And
Anyway,
pack all your
okay. Never mind.
clothes.
Sorry, touchy.
go away.
Pack your mini skirts and your 5-inch heels, because
Billy,
it's a man's week.
Billy,
What?
I just like to say I am on the show. It's time for you to leave.
I have to let this dog
That's
out.
it.
Billy
Second
always
time
Billy
Jeff is
always
I,
leaves
I
when I'm
will
on the
leave.
show.
I will leave.
Hi,
Anyway,
Billy.
so much like James Sanchez mentioned about what Brian does, is we are breaking down the Return of the Warrior trilogy, all 3 issues of it, into 6 issues. We're not exactly sure where those breaks will happen, and they will be in the stores through Diamond in floppies. But they will have all of the. So anytime on our campaigns that we have an exclusive cover, that cover stays only in. Well, actually, all the covers that we did, not just the exclusive covers, but all the covers that we did on the campaigns will stay on the campaigns. So any covers that we do moving forward with Diamond will not be those covers. Those covers
Who's
will only
publishing
be
the
available.
Who's publishing the 6 issues?
We are.
Crusade.
We
Under
do.
Crusade. Beautiful.
Yep.
Back
No,
half
no.
of previews. I love it.
That's what they say. That's
That's
they
great.
Say. So it's
I don't
exciting.
know, the way that Diamond's going. By the time you put it out there, you might be the first retailer in
Near the front. Yeah, near the front half. Right. Yeah,
Right,
that's
you know.
true.
Okay, I'm going to stick up for the sister company here.
As you should.
That's not happening.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Not for anything. We always remember that that's how we got. That's what put us on the map was the comic book stores.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we can't forget them, and that's kind of been the missing piece to our puzzle in the last 4 to 6 years that we've been crowdfunding. Is that our heritage, I guess you'd call it.
Legacy.
Has not been. Yes, of course, it was ultimately the fans who went to the comic book store that bought it, but it was the comic book stores originally that believed in the book. So we have to remember them. And that's why it's been really important for us to have a plan to get back to them.
We don't
I
want
worked
the
at a comic book
shops to
store.
die. We don't want
Yeah.
those comic
No,
shops to die.
absolutely
No.
not.
Not at all.
Absolutely not. And that's
And these
why
poor
this is very
retailers. So
important.
we're going to have a show, which I've assembled a great roundtable of retailers to discuss what where they think, and they're a complete spectrum of where they lie, business wise, politically, and we're gonna have a nice roundtable. I guess in a few weeks on Thursday Night Live to see where do they think comics are going in 2024, because it's a very, could we say, volatile time, Aaron?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, seriously.
yeah.
I mean, it's good. This is going to be a very interesting year.
It's funny because so I ordered for a couple of shops up until just last year, and the shops carried comic books, and so I was doing the comic book ordering every month, and I finally sat down. I was looking at the books that were, I would go in and I would check out the shelves after the books had been there for a little while and get a count of what was still on the shelf. And what I quickly discovered with a little bit of mathematical analysis was the fact that the amount of store real estate that was devoted to the comic books was not pulling its weight because they just weren't selling well enough. There just wasn't enough interest in new comics. And whenever something would get a little bit of interest, something would happen that would kill it off. So either, like with the Powers of X book, House of X that Jonathan Hickman was doing, huge interest in that. People were super excited about it. Then they brought in a bunch of less talented people who muddied the waters and killed it. So after a while, it was like, this space is not worth it. And so I made the recommendation to them that, you could put cards here. You could put anime statues here. Not only will you get more bang for your buck because, your discount is better and your profit margin is better, but also there's just more interest, and they don't get damaged as easily. There's just not a lot going on with like new comics. So it was, the decision was made to cut them completely. And that's, a lot of these retailers, they depend on the new comics to come in. And what I keep telling them is, if you can get new comics down to less than 10% of what your shop carries, just have more things, invest in more things, carry Pokemon cards, carry, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Lorcana, Disney Lorcana. That's huge right now. You'll have kids coming into your shop, dropping money. You'll have parents coming into your shop and dropping money. And it's not that I want to move away. I want shops to move away from comics. It's not that I want less shops carrying comics. It's just that what the big two are producing right now, they cannot sell. So when I hear you guys say that, you eventually do a retail version that goes out to retailers, that makes me really happy, because I think that, it's not financially viable to do things through the direct market first anymore if you're an indie person.
Right.
So, you crowdfund it, but then you give something back by offering floppies, breaking it up and offering floppies back to the shop so that they have something to sell.
And that's what we're doing.
And the one thing that you can do when you're sourcing your own material that is already done is you can be on time, and that builds a relationship with the retailers.
Not just on time, but early.
Yep.
Under promise and over deliver.
Yep.
That's the rule.
Well, can I jump in there real quick? Because we're
moving chairs again.
Yes, we're moving chairs.
Oh my God. How many times I had to move chairs?
This is my man.
I'm very short, so watch this. This is what he makes me do. Move back for a second. I have to jump off one and then jump on another. It's exhausting.
Anyway, we're coming on 2 hours, guys.
Yeah.
And if I may, I want to share this. Where are we? Let me
Where are we?
right here. Hang on, Boomer.
Ooh.
Al Capone Vampire #0 just launched on Indiegogo.
Yeah, rather quietly this evening, but
Yes.
I was actually surprised anybody noticed, but it's nice so far, 35%.
Yeah, you really didn't tell anyone. You didn't even tell me when you were going to launch.
Jeffrey.
I know he's the campaign has already exceeded its funding goal on Kickstarter, which he had launched a few days ago.
Matter of fact, we're like last I looked, like $187 from the second stretch goal.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Now, this is for our Indiegogo backers. It's a fantastic book. What amazing covers. All three of these covers are all bangers, man.
I'm really psyched about them. The John Snyder's cover, the first one there, is just great. We've started doing the homage covers back with the Al Capone number 1. And sort of what Deb mentioned about the covers and the campaigns will always be exclusive to the campaigns. That's, for me, the homage covers are going in the comic shops too. They're the audience for them.
Right.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
Right. Now, Jeff, now Chris Brawley's a fan. I'm a fan. Scala's a fan. Hopefully Aaron will be a fan. But for the uninitiative, can you give us a little background? What is Al Capone Vampire?
Al Capone Vampire is Al Capone is a vampire. He's come back. And it's like literally the most accurate title I've ever written. It's Al Capone. He's a vampire. He's decided to take over Chicago again. Can anybody stop him? It's set modern day, and there's the last miniseries had the vampire origin of Capone, and it explained why his vampire gestation took so long, why he's just come back now.
I had an Italian uncle that worked for Al Capone.
Did you really?
Yeah, he was a bookie, and so the legend of the family was always like, your uncle was a bookie, and he stood up to Al. He was part of Al's, one of Al's guys, but he stood up to Al Capone. And then I had another uncle who was like, let me tell you what really happened. He goes, he was a bookie for Al Capone. One day, Al Capone rolled in and said, "Get out of town, Tony." And Tony looked Al Capone right in the eye and said, "No problem, Big Al."
Okay, yeah.
That sounds very believable.
Mhm.
I am so hoping that Al Capone's brother, Two Gun Hart, if you guys know who he was, Al Capone's brother was a World War I veteran, and he ended up moving out west, changing his name to Hart, his last name. And he was known as Two Gun Hart. And he became one of the greatest marshals and lawmen of the Old West. Or not the Old West, like the 20th century West.
The early 20th century.
Gangsters and things like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's what's fascinating. When I was working on the third issue of Capone, it was it was probably the most rewriting I've done in a long time. That the fun part about creator-owned is, I'm writing what I want to write, but everything I stumbled on research-wise led me to something else. But this issue is fun. We've got the first story that flashes back to Prohibition times and ties into the current story. We have the first meeting of Dean and Jocelyn from Vampire PA, which is where Al Capone spun out of. And we also have a preview of this summer's weirdest crossover.
Excellent.
Can
we run the video real quick? Do you mind?
Absolutely. Why? It's better than me talking about it. Sure.
Yeah, let's do it. Outstanding.
That looks
And
fun.
Jeff, I have to tell you, you've had some fantastic covers and artwork. The Frame Brothers.
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the Frame Brothers as well. But Jeff, I have to tell you, this, and I know I did a Vampire PA cover right there. That's mine.
Yep.
And I love John K. Snyder's a third. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mark Wheatley's cover. No, Mark Wheatley's.
Oh, Mark's
Vampire PA
cover on the first
cover.
issue that we used for the
Yes.
first paperback.
But
Sure.
I got to tell you, I think this cover right here,
Gene Gonzalez's,
and this cover right here, these covers are phenomenal. I love the homage cover. I love that book with the cab driver and all that.
Yeah.
But holy crap, stunning colors,
I agree.
execution, design, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you got a great roster of
Fantastic
covers.
Home run.
You seriously, you look at it's. I mean, go back to Vampire PA, and I've got you, I've got Mark Wheatley, I've got the frames. Very happy with that. Then we go forward to Al Capone Vampire, and for number 1 through number 4 in the comic shops, I've got Chaykin, Aaron Lopresti,
Yes.
Mark Wheatley, and
Dan Lawless.
Dan
Dan
was
Lawless. Oh my
in
God,
the crowdfunded one. And there's also he also did a exclusive for a comic shop for us on the first issue. But and then the last one is Simone Gigliomini, who did a book at Image called Near Death, and I just freaking love his work. And I got Wes to color and it came out great, but I had it recolored to be because I knew I would get a totally different feel for it for the cover gallery book that we're doing as the exclusive with this campaign. And that was colored by Noel Giddings, who was the main colorist for Milestone originally back in the day.
Oh, excellent.
And take a look. It's just real small here, but take a look at that. It's a totally different experience than the way Wes colored it, which is what I wanted. I wanted, I was repurposing it, and this is just an incentive book, not a real standalone. But scroll down a little bit, and I'll show you the second stretch goal here. All right, this is the one. Go now. You just passed it. There you go.
Oh God, yeah! What a cover, dude!
All right, that is Simone again. He just blows me away, man. And then Noelle painted that, and that literally is painted. She outputs the page and then actually physically paints. And I think that is so. What you're saying about me getting covers right now, I think this is one of the. I'm in a groove with the like among the coolest covers I've ever seen. And when you take them, that thought is why I wanted to do the cover gallery, so people can see how freaking lucky I've been.
Yeah. Well, and it's a very clean campaign. You don't have dozens of levels or perks.
No, I think there's like 9 or 10 or 11 or something like that. We've got some sketches from Brendan and Brian that are available. There's black and whites, there's color. There's a few pages of original art, not many. That page right there. I wish this was bigger. I'm sorry I didn't send it to you ahead of time.
This one?
Dean is an old school metal trash can lid, and Dean is doing Captain America. Yeah. And Brendan and Brian are great Silver Age fans. So when I tell them, hey, make it a Captain America page, they love it.
Well, it's a great campaign. I love how you do this stealth launch and not notify your friends.
You know what happened? Honestly,
it's a great business model.
It's like so. It's why my next project will be a black and white romance comic, because selling a private eye comic wasn't hard enough.
But would it deal with Mary Sullivan? Or?
Yeah, thank you. It would be. Actually, I won't be that, because I did put that in the second crowdfunded Al Capone. But the fun thing about it was Kickstarter. The whole thing got thrown off by Kickstarter, where I'm having the success. Explain that. The hysterical part is, how long Kickstarter has taken lately.
Yeah,
Sure.
They're longer and longer and longer and longer. And so I'm thinking like, okay, I'll get this approved, I'll submit it, and then I'll start working on the Indiegogo, because Indiegogo goes much quicker on
Right.
approvals, especially if you've done it before.
Yeah.
And so I click send, and it's approved in 3 minutes.
wow.
Yeah, and that totally upset your whole order of your universe.
My plan in a very nice way, but I'm still playing catch up, and I've been working till like 2 a.m. every night this last week. So
listen, Jeff, send me go to Indie Comic Showcase on Bleeding Fool and fill out that questionnaire so we can blow that up.
I
want to do that.
Man. Thank you so much.
We tried. I would love to have a discussion sometime. This is all inside baseball shit, right? Crowdfunding, because most of your viewers, Billy, don't give a damn about the ins and outs of it. But we've tried. We've done the Kickstarter going into an Indiegogo, where Indiegogo then takes whatever your amount was with Kickstarter and makes that the campaign, and now it's just an ongoing in-demand
thing. Yeah.
Right. Like
Yes.
store. Yeah, it's store mode. Yeah.
But they take a little bit more money off every transaction to do that, which I don't understand.
So
I've got to
just
say,
know
for
that-
any crowdfunders, you
I
should
just-
try Fund My Comic.
Yes, and that's the next step.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do have to. I just have to figure out the time, because
Yes, the only reason I mention them is they're the cheapest, and they love all creators, and it's all about freedom of speech. So I think the trick is to do something exclusive on each one.
Good call.
Meaning, we have this cover on Kickstarter. We have this cover only available on Indiegogo. We have this cover only available on Fund My Comic. If you'll do Fund My Comic first, though, and this might be something Aaron might be interested in too. If you do the first 30 days exclusive to Fund My Comic, you only pay transaction fees. You don't pay any platform fees. So you're just paying that 3% credit card fee for every transaction. And on Fund My Comic, it's Stripe. So you can get your money daily, weekly, however you want it. So
Nile.
keep that in mind, gentlemen.
I've got to ask a question about that.
How do they survive, though? That's what
I don't know.
understand.
Luke Stone is a man of God.
Well,
That's all I can
Luke
say.
is definitely a man of God and a
It
friend
needs
of
culture,
all
though.
creatives.
You need to Fund My Comic needs to get people over to it.
Well, they've only got about a 6,000 user base right now, which is tiny. I mean, compared to Kickstarter, right? So you got about
6,000 backers. Can you imagine getting 6,000?
But that's huge. No, it's huge. But you know this. You know
has
this.
Maybe Todd got that, or maybe Ross with Boom. We've never gotten 6,000 backers.
Listen.
Oh, look
6,
at you. Oh, Chris.
6,000 is a lot of backers, but these guys aren't going to back everything, right? So they're a lot of people are just coming because hey, my friend Aaron is on here, so I'll sign up for a Fund My Comic account, and that's all they back. So I think more comic creators need to go to Fund My Comic, look around. It's very simple. They're very creator friendly. The problem I think with Kickstarter and Indiegogo is they are very opaque. So if you think you're getting shadow banned, or you think anything's been screwed up or whatever, it will take you forever to get feedback from that team at Indiegogo or Kickstarter. Really, Kickstarter is more responsive than Indiegogo. I hate to say it.
That's true.
I like Indiegogo the best. Don't get me wrong. I like Indiegogo the best, but they are the worst about client communication. Fund My Comic, you can find Luke Stone on Twitter, and that dude will respond.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, he will.
He will, because they're small.
Yeah.
They're small.
Well, I like the idea. I like the idea of supporting a guy from the outset that's trying to support small creators. So I mean, that sounds like a really good idea. I think I might do that, because even if you're like, it doesn't have the reach of Kickstarter or Indiegogo, at least with Fund My Comic, you give them the first 30 days, and whatever you make from there, they're helping you out.
But you know how much Luke will then they can devote all their resources, all their assets towards that.
Yeah, because Kickstarter, there's a bajillion things on there. Someone's,
kickstarting
a vacuum, and
I'm gonna. I'm. By the way, not doubting anything about Luke. Okay, but I'm going to ask the question that I ask Billy all the time: why would we ignore any revenue stream?
You wouldn't. No, you would not. The thing
No,
we
but you
did
do an
was-
exclusive cover here, an exclusive cover there. I like
Yes,
that. I like that idea.
I love that idea too.
I've got exclusive. I've got exclusives on. I've got one on Indiegogo and one on Kickstarter.
That's perfect.
I do that all the time, and if we did a black and white version of the EC homage, I could do that for. I could do that for Fund My Comic.
I think on Fund My Comic, one of the things that we did, I run Mike Barron's. I'll just say it. I do Mike Barron's crowdfunds, right? We did it with Florida Man 1, Florida Man 2, Thin Blue Line, Private American, Bronze Star. And so we did a little second chance campaign because I have stock of Private American, right? We did it. Kickstarter booted us off because they it's a border crisis book. So of course, Kickstarter.
Well, yeah, but Kickstarter had initially accepted that campaign.
Yeah, they did. No. Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
It was being.
I know. I don't want to. I mean, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of.
We all know the
left over
story.
if you want more.
Right.
But what I was going to say is, we did a second chance on Fund My Comic, and we did about $3,000 or $4,000 worth of sales.
Boom.
Right. So. And we did Bronze Star, and we did $22,000 worth of sales.
Jeez.
A Bronze Star.
That was
Okay,
a great book.
that's a
I
thank
found
you.
it, Pat Broderick.
Listen,
What a
Pat Broderick,
combo.
are you kidding me? If you don't have Bronze Star, you've missed out on the Weird Western of the year. I'm actually going to submit that to the Eisners. All that
should.
aside, here's what I'm saying. Luke Stone loves creators. He's a creator himself. He's created a very secure website. They already kind of worked out any kinks. I think they've got it all together. If you're crowdfunding, you should do maybe an exclusive or a second chance. Jeff, you ought to do a second chance on one of your books. Or Billy,
Yes.
Leftover She, do a second chance on She over there. I think it's a great idea, and you get the money even quicker than Kickstarter or Indiegogo do. And the way we did Florida Man. This is what I was going to say. Florida Man 2, Hogzilla. Yep. We did. If you go to FloridaManComics.com, you see an Indiegogo button, you see a Kickstarter button, and you see a Fund My Comic button. And you could click whichever one you wanted, and it would just go to that platform, right?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is people were backing all over. So we did about $8,000 or $9,000 at Fund My Comic. We did about 10,000 on Kickstarter. Indiegogo still on in demand, so it's at about 20 or something like that. I mean, it's respectable. It's not
That's
six
wonderful.
figures, but listen, those are good numbers. So Fund My Comic is up there, because if Fund My Comic is hitting about the same numbers as our Kickstarter, that's worth checking out.
Yeah.
And real quick, we got a super chat here, and this is it says here that this is the first time Beyond Wednesdays has ever super chatted on a live stream.
Thank you,
So
bro.
thank you for that $5
Nice.
super chat. Much love, Teen Sensation and crew tonight. These are the type of conversation I love to watch, and also have my own channel. Keep killing it, Billy.
All right, thank you. So let's check out Beyond Wednesdays. Google it. Let's find it, or not Google it, YouTube it.
And
let's all subscribe to Beyond Wednesdays. That's a great title for a channel. Beyond
we got a
Wednesdays.
couple of images sent in from Aaron.
Oh,
One of them, I said I was going to debut probably at one of the covers later this week, and then I was like, why don't I just do it here? You guys have been kind enough to have me on.
Exclusive.
Let me
do it.
show
Let's
off
do it.
let me show off a cover that nobody's ever seen before.
yes.
We need
All right.
special meetings.
I've got 3 images. So which one is
It would be the second. So let's start with the second image. That's the cover that no one's ever seen.
Is that this one?
Yes, and this is by
Bro.
Lionel Castellani.
Bro.
How
Oh,
cool.
Beautiful.
my God.
Lovely.
So
Got a bit
we're
of
going
perspective.
completely old school. I was inspired because I saw the cover, the old EC Comics cover that you're doing for Capone Vampire, or Vampire Capone, or Capone Vampire, Al Capone Vampire. And I wanted to do like a creepy cover with the all the flaws and everything that makes it look like an old comic book cover. We'll probably
It
do like
reminds me very Larry Elmore.
Oh,
yeah. Well, the thing about
Right? Like,
Lionel Castellani drew he did a 5-page, we did a pitch for Justice League Unlimited at DC. And I wrote a full spec script, and he drew the first 5 pages of it. And we've been wanting to do something ever since. And, he's super busy, but when I told him about this, he was really excited to do it. And he's like, I kind of want to do like an old school, like kind of horror cover. And I said, yeah, make it look like a creepy magazine. So this one will actually have a special trade dress, with a special logo that's different than the regular logo. There'll be a pristine version of this, and then also this one that looks old and damaged. I kind of want to put a coffee ring, on it down here.
Oh, that'd be
where
really
the zombies
cool,
are.
yeah.
That looks great, Aaron.
This looks like this looks like a paperback novel you want to read, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You would
Yes, that's
buy that.
Doomface
You would
and,
buy that on the rack just for that cover. You wouldn't even
Yeah,
care
so
what
that's-
it's about.
So we got Doomface and Lexi there with the zombie hordes because
But also very
there's a-
Kirby, but very Kirby-esque
Yeah.
costumes. Like you can't say no to that. Damn.
Yeah, so
Well
that's the cover reveal, guys. And then there's another cover in there that's still in the black and white stage. That one's by Renzo. So that's our heroes. That's Spam, aka Kid Notorious, and Iggy the inflatable iguana there on his shoulder with Doomface superimposed in the background. And then Lexi about to lose her lunch from being up on that high.
Is that what she's about to do? That's Lexi about to throw up.
Yep. Yeah,
Now,
Lexi is
what is
way out of her
Doomface?
depth.
What is Doomface?
So Doomface is sort of this supernatural kind of being. Both he and his brother Malignus are demons of a sort, and they have a tremendous sibling rivalry. And when Doomface comes back, and Malignus is now his younger brother is now the #1 supervillain in the entire planet, he's not pleased about that.
Dude, that looks great. I love it.
I can't wait till you
Got a little bit of
launch
an
this
animation vibe to it, you
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
And
Hey.
Aaron, from the work that you've shared, you have to go all over YouTube. You have
I
to
love it.
pull in favors with all your friends and share this. 'Cause
Get it
people
out there.
get it. Look at
Get
that.
it out there. Yeah, absolutely.
So cool.
Hey guys, I gotta cut out. I still gotta do some work tonight.
All right, old bean.
Hope you guys
I'll
have
talk
a
to you on
wonderful
the
evening.
tomorrow.
Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed the conversation thoroughly. And the great part is that anything that we disagreed on, nobody was uncivil, nobody was uncool.
No
it's
triggering.
It's just people having opinions. Chris, I left you a note in the private chat. I have an idea we should follow up on.
Well, we'll
Thank
talk
you,
about you
Jeff.
after you leave.
Yeah,
I
if you-
really appreciate
and
it. Now
I
I'm
have
done
everyone's contact.
And
Good night,
we got
everybody.
another super chat in Billy, and I love this super
Yes,
chat.
I know. Hang on.
Beyond Wednesday.
I remember
Great name for a channel, Billy, huh?
I like
were on the
Beyond
channel
Wednesday.
a
I love
few
that
months
name.
ago,
That's new
Billy.
comic book day.
Well, that's a few months ago. So I'm
Check
trying
out
to,
the interview I
like I
did with
said,
Billy.
everything I do, like we have to, like, for the people that haven't been there, you have to make everything new. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen this, check this out. That's all marketing. But yeah, that was a blast. That was a great panel, and we love Brian. We love Jesse. They're family to us.
They're
They
good people.
truly, they really are.
And very good people.
Yep.
Thank you for that $10 super chat.
And the honor was all ours. And so thank you, brother, for that.
All right.
More super chats, please.
Uh, Anyway, guys, so we're coming on now. Oh my God, we're over 2 hours.
I can't believe you went this long, Billy.
I know.
Billy, at the start, Billy said, I kind of want to keep it to an hour. I'm a little tired. I got
1
got
hour.
some stuff to do. We're
Yeah.
going to keep it to an hour. And everybody rolled their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you
Doesn't work
came
that
up
way.
and you
Oh, stop. Don't you dare blame it on me.
fucking
Lies, Tim.
totally got me all
It's
over.
Deborah's fault.
Only a
Yeah.
success.
Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us. I know, Aaron, we kind of deviated from the initial
No
from
worries
the
at
we
all.
do it here. Don't worry.
opine, if you will.
Mhm.
But you really struck a chord with a lot of people, because I have a lot of other friends that are comic creators that read this and they text me these things,
Mhm.
because people have seen this, even though they never want to. They're not going to say it. They will never say it. Maybe in San Diego, if we all hook up, you'll see them there and like, dude, when you wrote that, they'll tell you that. Maybe. But it struck me, and I felt that it was worthy for us to talk about. And Chris, thank you for joining us too, and Nile, because Chris, we've had this conversation before. People are talking about these things of what
Mhm.
that that this comic book writer and editor just said. You know what? I got something to say, and it's really created ripples, and it's a good thing, because things have to change for the better for this industry, because there's it's kind of
We got to get along. I mean, we're trying to make comics here. We're trying to make entertaining stuff. And, kind of going back to that political
I'm
thing.
done.
Bye, Deborah.
Good night,
Good
Debbie.
night. Trump voters. That's 75 million people, right? I just wish that more people would be like Jamie Dimon or whoever and say, look, these people have legitimate complaints that we ought to address. And I think
concerns,
complaints, grievances, you name it. Yeah. And I think that what I loved about Aaron's piece is, Aaron, you're a good writer. I mean, I'm just going to say that on the outset. You're a very good writer. Barron actually sent me the article before you published it. And I said, holy shit. I said, I need to put this on Bleeding Fool. He said, no, I think he's already putting it on Clownfish. I said, well, that's a very good platform for this. But Aaron, good writer. You really grasped exactly what was going on, and it needed to be said. I mean, at the end of the day, you just said what everybody's thinking. And the sane people, what the sane people are thinking. Nobody gives a damn about whether Heidi McDonald gets another award. Why aren't we talking about comics? Why aren't we talking about good comics? I think that's one of the things I love about Wes's channel is he talks about what is good. He talks about what is bad. And we ought to be able to be allowed to do that. I used to be able to go to a comic shop and say, oh, that comic didn't work for me, or I love this comic, or can Hulk beat Thor, or can Superman beat Hulk? You know, I mean, and we would disagree, but we wouldn't walk out in the parking lot, want to whip each other's ass, you know, over the opinion that we heard. And there's so many good creators. And Billy, you've done so much good work. I mean, I've even got your Birth of Jesus comic back in one of these long boxes back here. Man, you have got such a legacy of work. And so do you, Aaron. I mean, my God, Darkwing Duck, come on. There is no reason that the comic book publisher shouldn't be embracing everything you do, because here's the truth. There are millions of people that like what you did, and they would buy what you did. The problem is that they're trying to appeal to people, this narrow niche of people, and it's okay to appeal to them, but you should be appealing to the people that want to read Cecil's comic too.
What they don't realize is that the rising tide raises all ships. So if comic books weren't focused on selling comics to a niche audience amongst a niche audience, if they were focused to most of our line is going to have the most broad range appeal possible, that would actually make the industry healthier, so much healthier that you would have the room for these smaller niche books, and they would actually have the chance to survive because they would live long enough to find their audience. But by making comics so small, nothing can survive. And you can do a gay Iceman book, but it's not going to sell, and it's going to get canceled because you can only lose money for so long. But if you guys would just refocus, on pleasing the main comic buying audience, which I'm sorry to say is still men. Is still men from their 30s up to their 50s and
still
beyond.
Dwindling.
Yes. And if you focused on that, if you focused on your core audience instead of alienating them and calling them names and trying to drive them off, you would therefore create a healthier industry for these smaller books. So you could do a book about Iceman, and it could be about his dating life if that's what you wanted to do, and maybe there'd be enough fans there to buy it in order to keep it going.
Maybe
and
give it a shot.
If not, let it die.
But if it fails, don't go and insult the audience for not wanting to buy it.
Exactly.
So, and again, so Nile and I were talking, and Aaron, when I reached out to you, I love the fact that you as a writer, that you're taking a big chance that you would do this, because there are going to be people that will despise you for this. Nothing, whether you like it or not, they will. You're going to be done with that. Mm-hmm. Now, artists can get away with a lot of stuff, because if you're a good artist, right? Say, Adam Hughes can say whatever the fuck he wants, because Adam Hughes, but he'll still deliver his art and his books sell, right? Writers are a lot different. You don't have that portfolio to back them up. It's a very brave statement, and it's been since the dawn of time of writers doing this, and that's what makes writers. That's what makes Hemingway who he is, and Lewis Carroll who he is, and all of these controversial writers throughout history to do that, because they take that stand for their art. And I applaud you, and that's why it struck me in a way, because it's different than me, say Ethan, me, John, a couple of us, Aaron, saying things like, well, we stand up for ourselves, or we're going to say something because we have been so fortunate enough to sell stuff due to our art.
Mhm.
But as a writer, it's really hard because there's no established writers in comics, in mainstream comics, that want any new artist, any new writer to come in. They don't.
Right.
It's so
It's all like crazy competitive.
It's totally cutthroat. Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And I've always been exactly the opposite. I've never been a cliquish guy. Even when I was at Boom, if you wanted to do a Disney book and you submitted samples and I liked them, I thought they were good, I thought that you were ready, you would get a shot. It didn't matter if I didn't know you. It didn't matter if, you didn't have to be friends of mine, a friend of mine. Now, over time, there are friends that you'll work with again and again because they'll deliver. But I've still always, whenever I've been in charge of something, I've always had like an open submission policy. And you know what the funny thing is, Billy? Through that open submission policy, I had an incredibly diverse group of creators, different political spectrums, different religions, different sexualities, different, you get natural diversity by just hiring the best people for the job that you can find. And when it came to this, I decided a long time ago, the Marvel or DC that I wanted to work for, they don't really exist anymore. And I'm not in those cliques. I've never been in those cliques. I've never had any interest in being in them. And I've always just I'd rather be true to myself. The thing my stepdad always told me when I was growing up, the problem with kissing ass is one day you wake up and you find you were kissing the wrong one. And that's what a lot of these creators that joined in on digital lynch mobs that tried to curry favor with the editors, they're not getting work. They're out there putting up GoFundMes so that they can pay their rent, so that they can buy groceries. They have no more work. Because they've shrunk the industry to such a degree that there's not enough room for them. And I've just always felt that, not to sound like I have an ego, because I try to be very humble about what I do. But when I say that Dynamite made a mistake not hiring James Silvani and I to come back on the Darkwing Duck, when they decided to hire friends of theirs who didn't know the property, that we would have knocked it out of the park. When I say that we are the best at doing that, that's not hubris. I believe that. And you have to believe that so that you can knock it out of the park. If you don't think you're the best person for that book, what are you doing?
Right. 100%. Yeah.
And so the industry needs people like me more than I need the industry, the mainstream industry. So I would rather be true to myself. I'd rather talk to people like the people that follow Thinking Critical. I'd rather come on here and talk to your fans. And I'd rather talk to people like you who've made a stand and who've been true to yourself and said, I'm not going to compromise my values for the crumbs from, and the approval of people who in 3 months are going to be begging for, grocery money.
And the vast majority of them don't even buy the comics to begin with. They pirate them or they watch the movies. They're not comic fans.
No, not at all.
Not right, no. Nile. I mean, they're not.
No.
Well, they go to the pirate site. If they go to the pirate site.
It's not even that. Oh, there's gay Superman. I'm all about that. I'll tweet about it. I'll social media support it. But did I read it? No,
absolutely not. Yeah, 100%.
I just think
I took a picture with it.
They're doing it.
I took a picture with it and put it on my Instagram and said, "We did it."
Yeah.
Well,
it's like header image. That's all.
Look at the Thundercats comic, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, it's the biggest selling comic of the decade at 170,000 copies."
Oh.
Well, it wasn't at those orders until Rob Liefeld's fucking cover came out.
Fucking kick-ass cover.
And,
yes.
And I like the cover. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I like Rob, whether you like him or hate him. He's achieved a lot of things, but once his cover came out, the demand for that book skyrocketed.
He turned that
have a
entire
variant
book
cover.
around.
Listen, Robservations is a great podcast.
It
I'm
is.
going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
It is a great podcast. I enjoy listening to it. I'm not a fan of Rob, but I am a fan of his podcast.
I'll tell you when we did.
Fine with that. Rob's okay with that. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care.
Because you're listening to his podcast. You're helping his ratings.
He's got I don't care money. I mean, he doesn't care if I care. I think he's got Bleeding Full blocked on Twitter. I don't care. I'll still promote his podcast.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you when we did our second volume of Darkwing Duck at Joe Books instead of Boom. And that's where we got to restore our scripts and everything. And there's a whole history of tomfoolery with what happened with Boom and Darkwing Duck and how it was corrected at Joe Books with the omnibus. But that all aside, when we sold our second volume from an unknown publisher, we did, I think, 11,000 copies in the direct market. And with one cover, if you break down how many covers Dynamite did for their Darkwing Duck #1, and they sold over 100,000. But when you factor in how many covers they had to do to get there, we actually outsold them on an individual basis better with one book.
course you did.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to disparage Nick. I like Nick.
No, I don't think it. Look, I mean, Nick's a businessman. He's, and
Yeah.
he's got editors that that he goes to. He's not involved with those kind of decisions. But Nick, if you ever want to relaunch and get a really good result, hit me up.
This is your guy right here. This is your
Heck
guy.
yeah, he is. Well, Aaron, we are looking forward to you launching the new book. Maybe April, hopefully April. And looking forward to you going around the rounds, hitting all the channels. We'll spread it out. We'll put it out there for all the other guys and stuff like that. And let's make this book huge. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I've got some heavy hitters that have said, like, come on, we'll do like a launch party. And then obviously, I'm on Thinking Critical all the time. We talk about it there, and I bounce around. I've been really fortunate to be invited on a lot of shows lately. From you to World Class Bullshitters to everybody's kind of been interested in having me on, and I'm really thankful for that. I love coming on and having these conversations.
You're always welcome, man.
Yeah,
we like your hot takes, Aaron.
That was fairly biting, wasn't it? The article, like, I tend to write in a very kind of biting and acerbic way.
The beauty is Heidi was never going to cover your book anyways.
No.
Yeah.
But you're just exposing things, and there's a lot of things. Like I said, like we're friends with Heidi.
Okay.
And for a long time, 30 years. But things like that, like really off-color stuff, really very strange things about when the Jim Hanley's universe was closing shop in New York City. That's not for a conversation, and maybe we can do that. Maybe we can have you back on, Aaron. You too, Chris, and maybe we have Heidi on, and let's have a conversation.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like I said, I'll talk to anybody. Because I know that Heidi loves comics. I do. I know she loves comics, and I know that she loves the medium. And maybe let's have a debate.
She's smart.
Yeah, but let's have a debate. Let's have a conversation, and that might be, if you guys are open for it. And I'll reach out to her too, and let's talk and see, like, what were you thinking about this? What were you what was?
Yeah.
Where are we going? Where are we all going?
Yeah.
Forward,
Well, and even what would we like to see them do better, and what would she like to see us do better?
Indeed.
The thing is at the end of the day, and this is kind of a running gag I have with my wife. I love my wife, Juliet. I love her. She is such a perfect teammate. And sometimes I say to her, thank you for that correction.
Oh, that's good, dude. I've never.
Now listen, she thinks I'm joking when I listen. She thinks I'm joking when I say it. I'm serious, because a lot of times we can't take criticism. If you can't take criticism from somebody who loves you, you got a problem.
Right. But you have to recognize that she may be your most.
She's my biggest cheerleader, man.
She may be your most honest critic.
Yeah.
But she is also your most ardent supporter.
That's right.
Yeah, she's on your side. She's for you.
That's right. You want to hear from your coach.
Yeah.
Yes, she's like your coach, man. She's like your trainer. Listen, and if you're a believer like me, a Christian, God's the hardest trainer you'll ever have, right? He knows how many push-ups you can do. Well, of course, your wife and your team player knows that you can do better, and she'll say it when you can do better, and you want to listen to that. And Heidi has been in this industry for so long, she's got to know it. I just want her to set aside her biases for long enough to be honest. Tell me why you're not talking about Ethan Van Sciver doing $2.5 million in sales on Cyberfrog. That's a goofy concept. Are you kidding me? A cybernetic frog is outselling Batman?
Whatever your problem is with Ethan, whether it's, I don't like his behavior, or I don't like the drama, or even I don't like his book, like whatever it is. The guy still sold $2 million worth of comics. He's got his own action figure line. You don't like Eric July? Okay, that's fine. But you know what? He's tearing it up right now at the Rippaverse. They're making money hand over fist, and he is employing people. He's got a social media manager. He's got a warehouse. He's got people that are working on fulfillment. He's hiring other people to expand the line.
The Soska sisters, Chuck Dixon, Mike Barron. Are you kidding me?
That's something that should be celebrated. He's creating jobs. Like, look, I rag on AEW all the time because I can't stand that. I can't stand their owner because I think he acts like a jackass. But I don't want it to go out of business because he's employing people. It's one of those things. It's like, if you want the industry to be healthy, nobody is going and buying Cyberfrog and that was buying mainstream books that's going to drop them for Cyberfrog. If you're a fan of Daredevil, you're still buying Daredevil, and then you're going to buy Cyberfrog too. So idea that we can't report on them, it's all political. And if it's not, I'd like her to come on here and tell me I'm wrong. I'll accept it. If she can make that point, if she can tell me, if she can illustrate to me how she's more invested in the sale of comic books and the health of the comic book industry than she is getting invited to parties when she goes to a con, if she can convince me of that, hey, I'll listen.
Well, Nile and I will do everything in our power to set that up, and have a civil conversation, and where are we going? And I think it would be a wonderful debate. Wonderful. Yeah.
I think you can count on Aaron being very polite, and me too. I'll even lay off the Talisker. So
no, you guys are gentlemen. So
thank you guys.
I mean, we're going on 2.5 hours. Thank you.
we gotta let Billy go.
It was all started because this bastard right here made an opinion piece and literally put it out there on the interwebs. What we all talk about at every bar at a con or in our little private group. So. But thank you, like I said, Aaron, Mr. Sparrow, Captain Aaron Sparrow, writer, editor extraordinaire, and soon to be
canceled for the third time.
We're looking forward to your new book coming out.
Doom,
but
not
again,
Doomcock.
No. But you're thinking April. Remember this: you only have one chance to make a first impression. So, I'll probably push it back. If it has to be June, make sure it's done and do it the right way.
Yeah, my hope is that once we, if we can crowdfund this one and we can, and it's successful enough, for the second volume, I'd like to be done with it. I'd like to not have to crowdfund. I'd like to treat it more like a pre-order, and be done with the book before we go. That's the model that I'd love to do. But I appreciate it, and I'm sure if you guys are available, I will have plenty of questions about crowdfunding. As we
anytime, and we look forward, guys, because this was a great conversation. Not Scala. We haven't had a Thursday Night Live like this in a long time.
I know.
This is almost like we're hanging out at a comic shop, sitting there and just talking about stuff.
Yeah, except you brought your girlfriend with you.
Well, that's no, she's pretty. She's pretty, Billy.
I can't get rid of it. How do I get rid of this?
Listen, man, I could do this for 3 more hours if I wasn't old and tired.
I know, me too. Yeah. And you know what? Let me tell you something, Chris Farley. I can do so much better than her too.
Listen, love you guys. I had fun. Thank you, Billy, for inviting me.
Great show, Scala. Again, Aaron, thank you so much. Thank you for writing.
Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion piece.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you liked it.
Yeah, no, a lot of people are talking about it. I think I got 3 of them sent to me in DMs.
Oh, I've heard some people that don't like it are talking about it too. And how do we handle this Aaron Sparrow problem?
Art T Bear. Listen, Aaron, if Tom and if they don't want to print it to your next one, just come on to Bleeding Fool. We'll put you right up. Okay. No problem.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
All right.
I love those
thank
guys.
You so much,
Trust
guys.
me. Good people.
Scala, want to take us out?
All right, guys, have a good one. We'll see you all next week.
We'll see you next week.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Booyah.
Good night, chat.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP and over on Instagram at the Pop XP. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you soon.